What's going on, fellow A-plussers? It's your boy Adam Perez back once again with a brand new episode of A-Plus Hero Report, your weekly stop for your Marvel, DC, television, and movie news. Coming to you guys live today here from beautiful Fort Worth, Texas on this Sunday. I was about to say Sunday afternoon, Sunday morning. Good to see everybody here. As A-Plus Hero Report is certainly here to bring you your guys' news, to keep you guys up to date for what you guys might have missed throughout the entire week. And we certainly wrap it up here beautifully for you guys today, as we're going to go ahead and get through 6 topics today. We've got a couple honorable mentions from the top that we're going to be tackling for you guys. And then, of course, towards the end of the episode, your live viewer questions. So certainly make sure that you stick around. Feel free to enjoy yourself in the live chat if you'd like to. Feel free to discuss and comment on some of the articles and topics that we're certainly going to discuss today, because again, it's not just our A-plus opinions as we break this down. We always want to know yours as well, so let your thoughts be known in the comment section, guys. Yeah, it should be a fantastic show for us today. If anything, do me a big favor. If you guys are in the live chat, hit that like button, guys. It definitely does certainly go a long way to go ahead and showcase your love for the channel and our content. But it's not just myself here today. Oh no, we got good old Stuart Branscombe in the house joining us today. What's going on, my buddy? You doing all right, Stuart?
Hey, I'm doing pretty good. Still in the process of waking up, but other than that, I'm good.
Man, this 11 o'clock shift is kicking our ass here, huh?
Yeah, I mean, normally it wouldn't be too bad, but like I had my first closing shift in a while. Like I guess after my boss found out that I prefer opening, he was actually pretty cool for the most part at giving me like opening shifts. But of course, you get days where it's like sometimes it's just not possible, which is understandable. So I was closing last night. Oh my God, I forgot how much I hated it so much.
What time did you get home?
So we got off at like I think I got off at like 1:30 and I got home at around like 2:36, because so my options basically when it's that late at night is to Uber or take the bus. And the reason I prefer Ubering is because if I take the bus, it's like I have to take 2 buses and the rotation is every 30 minutes when it gets like past 10 o'clock. So yeah, ended up Ubering. That took me like an hour, or it took like 20 minutes to like find someone that was able to pick me up.
So you don't commute to work on your own, like with your car and stuff? No?
Nah, I mean, like I would, but it's so hard to find parking around there.
Oh, I got you. I thought it was maybe like a traffic issue. Is your traffic as bad as like LA and stuff, or no?
Oh no, nowhere near as bad as LA.
Okay.
But it does definitely have its days where it gets bad, especially business hours and stuff like that. But I've been to LA a few times, and I can tell you it never gets that bad.
What movies you recommend people check out? What do they got in the box office right now?
Okay. So in the box office now, movies I recommend people checking out: Barbarian. It is
I've heard
new
some things
horror
about
movie.
it. Okay.
Yeah. Try not to hear any more things about it, because the less you know about this movie going into it, the better.
I haven't heard details. I've just heard people hefting praise onto it, like they clearly enjoyed the movie, but I haven't really read details as to what it's even about, honestly. So I didn't even know it was a horror movie.
Perfect. You keep it that way.
Okay. I'll
And
definitely check it out.
yeah, and then also, of course, me being a big Kevin Smith fan, I'm sure you're not surprised to hear that I freaking loved Clerks 3. It's only playing in very select theaters at the moment. But yeah, I had an opportunity to see it on Tuesday, and I'd say it's my favorite Kevin Smith movie, but it's only my favorite Kevin Smith movie because of the context of everything that came before it with Kevin Smith. So if you're not like keeping up with his life along with like his other movies that came out before, I feel like most people probably won't feel that way. But like, because I watch his podcast a lot and because he talks about himself a lot, it's like every scene in Clerks 3, you know exactly where he's coming from. And I think that's what made me enjoy it so much.
So Tusk isn't your favorite Kevin Smith film?
I mean, I like Tusk. It's hilarious, but definitely not.
I was wondering, because I remember you had mentioned you had gotten a chance to see it, and I literally just saw on my Facebook feed one of my friends, Tyler, got the opportunity to see Clerks 3, and I'm like, I don't think this movie's released yet. How are these people watching this movie? I didn't know it was in like select limited theaters. I mean, do they plan on rolling it out to a bigger audience?
I know that there's the road show at the end of the month, and I think when that happens, that'll be when it's like in a slightly wider selection of theaters. but I'm not 100% sure.
Okay, maybe I'll have to check the Dallas Fort Worth area a little bit better for that one because I want to check it out. And I also saw that there's the Woman King, but Viola Davis that's currently out
Yeah.
right now. I definitely want to go ahead and check that out. I'm a big Viola Davis fan.
I haven't seen that one yet, but yeah, it looks really cool because I was serving that movie last night, so
Oh, nice.
I would be walking in on scenes out of context, but yeah, it looks pretty cool. And I don't know if she's always looked this attractive, but wow, she looks amazing in that movie. I gotta say.
I know all those women went through an extremely tough, like just training regimen. So I cannot wait to see like the behind the scenes for that movie. But it's definitely on my list. But thank you for the recommendation, Stuart. I definitely want to go ahead and check it out. And if you guys haven't had the opportunity to go to the theater, now you've got some good movies to possibly find for yourself.
Have you seen anything really cool recently?
Not in the movie theaters, no. It's been a minute since me and the girlfriend went to the movie theater. I think the last movie we saw in theaters was Bullet Train.
Ooh, nice.
We have been trying to keep up with all of our shows like House of the Dragon, The Rings of Power. I just watched for the second time yesterday. We did start Cobra Kai yesterday. I think we might have made it through like the first 2 episodes, and then I wind up conking out, man. We watched it late. But I still haven't watched Thor. That's on my watch list now that it's on Disney Plus. I saw Pinocchio was up there also. I might want to give that a shot just because I love me some Tom Hanks. But yeah, we haven't. I do want to go to the movies. We've been talking about trying to get somebody to watch Little Man for us while we go ahead and go out to the theater. So I think The Woman King is on our list, and maybe something else. We'll see though.
Yeah, you can take the little guy to Barbarian. He won't mind it.
Yeah, we'll see. We'll see. I've never wanted to be those parents. You know, I'm like, as much as I love going to the movie theaters, I just don't know if I have to see a movie that much where I gotta bring my kid along. You know, like I just can't. That used to annoy me all the time, just as a movie goer myself. You know, because I don't mind the idea of having to get up and leave, but I just don't want to be one of those parents that are just like, fuck the audience. I'm just going to sit here and watch and let my baby cry. You know, like there's just some people like that and just rude. I just never want to be that parent. So, we'll see. We'll see. Who knows? I have no idea when kids are able to actually sit still for movies.
It always depends on the kid themselves. But yeah, because like I feel like for me, I was able to sit through a movie at a young age, but I definitely had friends that my sister would babysit that couldn't. So there would be times where we'd go to a movie theater, we'd probably be in there for like 20 minutes, and then it'd be like, okay, this is too much. We need to go.
yeah, we definitely need to go. So yeah, I feel the pain there. So we'll see. But yeah, guys, go ahead and check out the movies this week if you get the opportunity to do so. But Stuart, let's go ahead and start diving into our honorable mentions here. Let's start kind of cracking some of these topics before we get into some of our main topics. Do you have an honorable mention that you want to go ahead and bring up today?
Heck yeah.
So
we got some set photos from Superman and Lois, and it includes a new costume for Superman. And I really, I gotta say, I really like this new design. The only thing that kind of comes off weird to me is the boots look like they're way too big for him, because like they're just like constantly kind of like bent a little bit. But I assume on camera we're not going to be focused on it. So, you know, assuming that we're focused on like just, you know, the kind of like the chest and everything up, I think like the S symbol looks so much cooler now.
Is it not the same?
Well, it pops up a little bit more. You know, because like in the other suit, I don't know, it was weird because it looks like it was just kind of like sewn on like part of the suit itself. But here it looks like it just kind of pops a little bit more. And then I also just think I think like the blue coloring is a little more. I like it better being kind of darker bluish instead of like kind of a grayish blue like they had before. I'm curious how this is going to look on their cameras, though, because obviously we're seeing this through like, you know, people taking photos on set. So I'm curious what it's going to look like, you know, when in the actual show. But we also see that Atom Man is back. He was the one Nazi villain in the I think it was like episode 8 where they had like the flashback episode. But we see him with Superman in his new suit, so this isn't going to be a flashback. It's probably going to be taking place during the present time. So yeah, just both these set photos look pretty cool, and definitely looking forward to season 3.
Yeah, I am looking forward to season 3. I always laugh anytime we see set photos of Superman's boots. I'm just like, man, his costume is bigger than poor Tyler. And I know Tyler's been working out, but I guess you can't really do too much about the boots. I'm just always amazed as to like the post production work that they actually have to put into his feet.
Mhm.
Or he would just look absolutely ridiculous. But the costume looks great, man. The costume looks great. Do you know? Do they have a release date for the next season by any chance?
Uh, I don't think so. I would assume around January because that was around the same time season 2 started.
Oh, okay. All right, no
Yeah.
problem then. So yeah,
I
stay tuned
also
for
I
the next
also
season.
think like because they're filming around the same time as the Flash and Gotham Knights, it's very likely they're going to try to schedule them all to like kind of premiere around the same time.
Yeah, I'm assuming maybe that early 2023 season, maybe.
Yeah.
So we'll definitely see. Couple other honorable mentions for you guys. Let's see here. Batman and the Cape Crusader is back in the news. As you guys know, while this animated series, is still in production, it's no longer going to be airing on HBO Max. HBO Max has decided to drop it, but they are, in fact, at least shopping it off to other studios. Right now, this past week, comicbook.com let us know that it's currently being shopped to Netflix, Amazon Prime, and Apple TV. Those are, in fact, the three that it's being shopped to. I don't have Apple TV, so please let's go Netflix and Amazon Prime. I think this is going to happen regardless. I just feel J.J. Abrams, Matt Reeves, was it Tim Bruce? I mean, everybody that's just made some sort of Batman magic, and with the production expertise of J.J. Abrams attached to this. This is a project that I'm really looking forward to. So I'm glad that they didn't just completely axe it and they're keeping it alive, but just somewhere else. Stuart, if you had your choice, where do you think is a fitting home for Batman, the Cape Crusader?
If it was between the three of them, I'm going to hope it goes to Netflix, but Amazon Prime, honestly, if it goes there, I'm not going to complain either. Apple TV would be the one I would want it to go to the least amount because I don't have an Apple TV yet.
Yeah, me either. So yeah, it's funny for me. I actually wouldn't mind. Look, like you, I don't mind either of these. But if I did have my choice for me, I think I'd probably go Amazon. I wonder how it would be for animation. I'm trying to think of like when they dropped Incredible. Was that weekly? Do you remember if they dropped those episodes weekly? I think they did, right? I don't think it
If I
was a
remember
full binge.
correctly, man, I don't remember because I ended up just binging the show, so I waited till it all came out. But I think they did it the same way they did it with The Boys, so it was like 3 episodes when the
Right to
season came
start.
out, but then it was like every week afterwards. It was one new episode.
And I would be open to that. I would be open to that. The way that Amazon releases their stuff for the Batman Cape Crusader animation, I kind of like that aspect instead of maybe going to Netflix and just dropping all at once. I don't know. I kind of dig the idea of week to week though, but that could just be me.
Yeah.
Okay. Oh, you got anything else or no?
Also, if it goes to Amazon, a lot more chances that they'd be able to get a lot darker and edgier than it would if it was on Netflix. Because I feel like Amazon lets them have a lot more free range than Netflix. I think.
Oh, you could be right. You could be right. And then outside of that, the other honorable mention I have for you guys comes to us from the world of Star Wars. Some I don't want to say trouble in paradise, Stuart, but some people certainly might say so when it comes to Patty Jenkins' Rogue Squadron. Apparently, Lucasfilm just updated their upcoming slates of movies and series, and unfortunately, Rogue Squadron is no longer on the list. It has certainly been taken off. It is no longer on the production schedule. And actually, right now, Stuart, there are no Star Wars films that are I think lined up or scheduled as of right now. Although I do think they might have put one untitled one for December of 2024, if I'm not mistaken. But the Rogue Squadron title is not up there. So it definitely has some people wondering whether or not this Patty Jenkins Rogue Squadron movie is even happening. Um, you know, I personally want to be a believer that this movie is still happening, Stuart. But I feel like with all the moving pieces that we have when it comes to Warner Brothers, Patty Jenkins, she already had 2 other films that she was attached to, the Cleopatra movie, which I thought she decided she was not going to direct any longer so that she could work on Rogue Squadron. And then, of course, you have Wonder Woman 3 that we know that she's going to be working on. But I was kind of under the impression those were kind of pushed to the side. So I don't know what's going on with this film. There's a part of me that wants to believe that it is still happening, but I feel like this is the second time it's been taken off the schedule. And then Kathleen Kennedy has had to come out before in the past and be like, no, we're still working on it, but we just don't have any fixated date. What do you make of this? I think you're muted.
Yeah, it sounds at the very least like Disney has just kind of decided it's not their priority anymore, so they're just gonna work on a few other things and then come back to this if they can, which is too bad because it seemed like the one that that Patty Jenkins was like really excited to do, because I mean they went out of their way to film like an actual teaser for it, with her expressing like why she was so attached to this project. So to me, seeing this one get cut from their release, or at least like not part of their big thing that they're advertising with Star Wars, a little bit sad, not gonna lie.
Yeah, I'm a little bit bummed too, man. I thought the anticipation level and the excitement behind this project was really there, especially like you mentioned with the little announcement trailer that we wind up getting of her mentioning she was going to be doing Rogue Squadron, how her father, I think she said, was a pilot or something like that herself, and so she kind of grew up around planes and whatnot. Look, I will say this: when it comes to Lucasfilm, I don't mind them taking their time to get their movie world in order, because I do think that if you are Lucasfilm, your next Star Wars movie has got to be a banger. It's got to be great. But in the meantime, I don't have a problem with them changing their focus towards television right now. They've got a lot of stuff coming down the pipeline. We got some great content headed our way, or whether that be Andor that begins next week, believe it or not, which, guys, we will be doing reviews for Andor here. The first episode, I think the first 3 episodes drop this upcoming Wednesday. So we'll be doing that. They also got Skeleton Crew. They got the Ahsoka series, the Acolyte, Tales of the Jedi. They got some animation and stuff in the works, Mandalorian season 3. So there's a lot coming down the pipeline. But when it comes to films, they have been very hush-hush in regards to it. Like, we haven't heard anything about Taika Waititi's Star Wars film. And one of my concerns, and I expressed this before, Stuart, anytime we talked about Taika doing the Thor movie, was, I personally love the idea of Taika doing Star Wars, but how are people going to feel about him taking over Star Wars after seeing a movie like Thor: Love and Thunder, which I personally heard got a lot of mixed reactions, even though I certainly haven't seen it myself. And it does make me wonder if it's a case of Star Wars again kind of getting cold feet, announcing things prematurely, way too early before they have all their details and plans in place. And then they give these directors and writers opportunities to make other films. And then maybe those films leave bad tastes in people's mouths or some level of uncertainty. And now they're like, it makes me feel like they're doubting themselves again. You know what I mean? And I'm just like, I just don't want us to continue to go down that same road in the future. And so there's a part of me that does hope that Lucasfilm does get its act together. But at the same time, I don't want to rush them either, because I do think that is a detriment to them. So I'm hoping that they're keeping things just very close to the vest until they actually have themselves a plan. But I still think that this movie is going to happen, Stuart. I just don't know if they know when exactly.
Yeah, that makes sense. And I think one other factor might be the television side of things being successful. I think they're waiting for when the TV side of things start to die down at least a little bit, and then that's when they're going to start focusing on movies again. That's my guess, and it's because I feel like when it comes to production, especially with Lucasfilm as big as it is still like, just one section of Disney that, they're going to be using for Star Wars. So it means like you can't really have one section for the TV side of things and one section for the movie side of things. So it's like you either have to kind of split your focus with it, or you can like keep it all together. I don't know. It makes sense in my head, but like as I started talking out loud, I'm like, maybe that's not the case. But
yeah, because I mean, they're a big studio. They should be able to handle television and movies at the same time.
Yeah.
And I guess that maybe that's a little bit onus on Kathleen Kennedy, but they should be able to do both. And so, listen, I do think that this movie is still coming out. I just think this is a case of Lucasfilm trying to make sure that they have their plan in place, their I's dotted, T's crossed, because when you make an announcement, you got to roll it out and have your stuff in line. So we'll see what happens, man. But I hope that this is a film that does happen. But
yeah, basically what I meant was, like, I think that movies aren't really going to be their priority for a while until the television side of things starts to wither away. You know what I mean?
No, I get it. And it may not be. It may not be. If you've got something really good working for you on the television side, keep focusing on that. And really don't come out with a Star Wars movie unless you have a big overall plan and some momentum behind it. So we'll see how that turns out. But those are, in fact, our honorable mentions. Real quick, I just want to give some shout outs to people in the live chat with us today because we got quite a few. What's up, Felix? Appreciate you coming through. He says Constantine Part 1 was amazing. We got good old Datilla in the house with us today. Blossom is certainly joining us. Marcelino Vasquez in the house. He says Superman's new costume looks the same as it was previously. I'm right there with you, Marcelino. Like sometimes it's really, yeah.
You didn't notice like kind of the blue being darker and the chest like kind of popping out a little more.
Maybe because you do watch it more than I do, and so like I while I haven't even fully finished season 2 of Superman yet, or if anything, there's a lot more. I just haven't watched the character as much as you have, Stuart. So like when I see his costume, I'm like, oh, it looks the same to me. So I get it, Marcelino. I get it, Marcelino. Ram Jam, what's going on, Ram Jam? Good to see you in here. We also got Mr. Random Review hitting us up on Twitch and on YouTube. He says they need to take time. Too much Star Wars too soon is his viewpoint on that. He says, well, it can't be any worse than the last 3 trash Star Wars movies. So they have that going for them. Yeah, my only pushback to that random was I kind of like Force Awakens and The Last Jedi, but yeah, the Rogue, what is it? Rise of Skywalker was yeah, I'd rather not go down that rabbit hole, man, because I do love Star Wars as a franchise as a whole, and there are a lot of times I'd rather focus on the positives of what they have created. But yeah, man. But that will do it for our honorable mention. So thank you very much, everybody who's certainly joining us today. Do us a big favor, especially if you're in the live chat, hit that like button. It definitely does go a long way for our viewers. But Stuart, I think it's that time of the week to get into our main topic. So you ready to crush this with me, man?
Always.
We got a couple of great topics, I thought. Right after I feel like we've been doing so much convention coverage as of late, right? We had San Diego Comic-Con this year, D23. We had our Power Morphicon panel. For me, it's nice to just come back to a generous episode of A+ Hero Report with a lot of great content and articles going on in the world of nerd pop culture right now. And we're going to go from DC to Marvel into movies and television for you guys today. And we'll be kicking off with the huge DC news here, as I don't think anybody certainly saw this one coming, Stuart, as we wind up getting ourselves a massive announcement. You know, right now, when it comes to the world of Justice League Dark and any of those particular characters that live in that world, the last management team from Warner Brothers wind up really putting that into the hands of J.J. Abrams and his Bad Robots production company, as they are in the process of working on not only a Justice League Dark sort of movie world universe, they also had a couple other side projects that they were certainly working on. And one of those was, in fact, Constantine. Now, Constantine was actually set to go ahead and give us a HBO Max series, if I'm not mistaken, is what we were certainly supposed to have. But apparently we've got a little bit of a shakeup going on in that particular world, as it is no longer going to be a Constantine series, but we are officially getting ourselves a Constantine movie. And what really excites me about this particular announcement here this week, Stuart, is it's not even just like a rebooting of Constantine. Hey, we're going to go out here and try and find ourselves a brand new actor. Somewhere in the back of their heads, they have officially decided we are going to make ourselves not only a Constantine sequel, but, Stuart, we are officially bringing back Keanu Reeves. And my top just blew when I saw this particular announcement. I'm trying to remember if whether or not I had heard or if I had remember seeing Keanu Reeves mention the idea of wanting to go back to this world. See if you can find, Stuart, while I go over this article, see if you can find Keanu Reeves talking about Constantine pretty recent, within like the past year or two. Because there's a part of me that says that I read somewhere that he was showcasing interest in possibly returning, but I figured a long time ago, Stuart, that ship had sailed. But apparently, according to Deadline, it's still in the dock. It's still here. Deadline says Warner Brothers sets a Constantine sequel. Keanu Reeves and the original director, Francis Lawrence, to reunite. And we've got Akiva Goldsman writing the project, while J.J. Abrams' Bad Robot is, in fact, set to produce. And mind you, this is really all coming during a time when Warner Brothers Discovery is just kind of a mess right now, in shambles, trying to get itself together and come up with some sort of plan for itself, and also trying to find its next Kevin Feige. And despite not having that Kevin Feige, this is one of their decisions that they're going to be going forward with. It says exclusive. Here's a resurrection of a DC character worth getting excited over. Warner Brothers will develop another installment of the 2005 supernatural thriller Constantine, and the studio is reteaming star Keanu Reeves and director Francis Lawrence, who made his helming debut on the original. Akiva Goldsman will write the screenplay and produce the project through his Weed Road Pictures alongside J.J. Abrams. It says when it opened 17 years ago, Reeves star pick based on the. Come on, what is going on here? Deadline, y'all killing me with these ads, bro. It says when it opened 17 years ago, the Reeves starred pick based on the intricate DC character grossed over $200 million at the box office worldwide. It opened a world of potential, and fans have been long been hot on a sequel. Reeves will reprise his role as supernatural exorcist and demonologist John Constantine, who in the original is dying but stays around to save his soul by keeping demons from hell from breaching Earth. He also gets between a battle between the Archangel Gabriel and Lucifer. The deal was shepherded by Warner Brothers Pictures Group co-chairs Michael DeLuca and Pam Abdy. And one of the reasons why, Stuart, I wanted to bring up the name Michael DeLuca and Pam Abdy, you know, when we were talking last week about Dan Lin not accepting the upcoming job for Discovery, one of the insiders and sources from the article we read had mentioned that there were people behind the scenes that were working on Warner Brothers that were pretty high on Michael DeLuca and Pam Abdy, maybe even pushing for them to maybe take up that bigger role when it comes to DC films. I do think that David Zaslav might still want somebody else that's separated from Warner Brothers Pictures Group, if you will, to go ahead and run it. But the fact that this has been put together by Michael DeLuca and Pam Abdy to actually make this happen, this kind of adds, I don't want to say fuel to the fire, but is a little bit more emphasis on the idea that, man, they're doing some good things behind the scenes, doing some things that fans are really eager to get behind. And I think fans love the idea of Keanu Reeves coming back as Constantine. I do think that we're kind of still in the what is it? The Keanu-sans, the Rihanna, what is it? The Keanu Reeves Renaissance, Keanu-sans? Is that what they're calling it?
Keanu-sans, I like that. I have no idea.
And so he's still extremely popular, especially after his revival when it comes to his John Wick movies and things like that. Don't get me wrong, I do love me some Matt Ryan, who plays Constantine on the CW, in the CW verse and things like that. But the fact that they're bringing back Keanu Reeves for a Constantine sequel instead of actually doing a reboot really gives me hope that we're headed in the right direction for this. I'm excited for this, Stuart. What are some of your thoughts, though?
I got to be totally honest. I've
Not
actually never seen.
Shut up!
I've
Stuart.
never
No
seen
way.
the Constantine movie.
No way.
You know, and it's funny because in fact I was actually planning on watching it last night, but I was just way too tired when I got back. But yeah, I haven't seen the first Constantine movie, and this news is definitely something I didn't see coming, because anytime I've heard people talking about the Constantine movie, it's always like either, oh yeah, it's pretty bad, or yeah, it's okay, but it's definitely not Constantine from the comic books. So I don't know. I think because of those two things, I've just never bothered to go out of my way to give it a shot. But now that I know that we're getting a sequel, yeah, it's definitely on my radar now, especially with it being on Netflix. But yeah, I mean, I love Keanu Reeves, man. So anytime he's returning for something, I'm definitely going to give it a watch. But yeah, I don't know about this news overall. I think it's a very interesting decision. And I have no idea if this is going to pay off for Warner Brothers or not. I just, it's just the last announcement I would have expected. Let me put it that way.
Well, you got some homework this week.
Yeah.
I'm just gonna say that you got some homework this week to check out check out Keanu Sans to check out Constantine. It wasn't the strongest movie in the world, but it is one that I enjoyed. I kind of enjoyed seeing Keanu Reeves, just young Keanu Reeves too, thrusted into sort of like that supernatural demonic world. Cool special effects, I guess, maybe for the time period in which it was. I mean, look, it was an early 2005 movie. I mean, we know what movies were like back in the day, kind of like that. And so, nothing to sweep me off my feet, but it was definitely one that was quite enjoyable in certain aspects. And so the fact that they want to go back down this route is super interesting to me, because mind you, Stuart, they associated and connected with this announcement, they did cancel the Constantine series that they had planned for HBO Max, along with the Madame Xanadu HBO Max series that they had planned also, both which were supposed to go ahead and be a part of J.J. Abrams' Bad Robots production. So when I hear this news that they're canceling some things from J.J. Abrams' Bad Robots deal, but yet they're green lighting a Constantine sequel that's still gonna be produced by J.J. Abrams, it makes me feel like there's a sense of somebody behind the scenes that's tired of reboots or maybe bringing in new actors and are like, guys, we already have an established world here, right? Like we've done this back in 2005. We've seen that these movies from the past are still connected in this bigger overall DC universe kind of continuity, if you will. So why not bring in somebody that people love, in Keanu Reeves, that people are going to go out and see this man's movies? Let's attach him to a DC property that he might himself even be eager to tackle once again. And instead of doing another reboot that people are kind of tired of, let's go ahead and maybe do a sequel. And I don't even think it's out of the realm of possibility, Stuart, where they could still attach this version of Constantine to whatever it is that J.J. Abrams is working on as Justice League Dark. I mean, can you imagine 17 years later, 20 years later, this John Constantine being the leader of our Justice League Dark film? It would be something that I personally would not have seen coming, but I do wonder if it is a change in their course and a change in their plan to have Keanu Reeves sort of lead this charge of maybe that darker universe. And by bringing him back, maybe they're like, yeah, let's just continue the story instead of having to start over when we already have something established. That's the mindset that I'm hoping that Warner Brothers Pictures is in. And for me personally, I do think it's actually a relatively good move. But that could just be me. Have you managed to find any articles of Keanu Reeves talking about wanting to return?
No, I ended up like as I was Googling it, I ended up getting sidetracked with another thing. But I was actually looking for it, and the oldest news I could find that wasn't like about the confirmed movie coming out. I saw like We've Got This Covered talking about the idea of it about a week ago, but not in a way of them saying like, oh, we got to confirm that it's happening, more of in a way of wouldn't it be cool if. So it was like more of an opinion piece. So it wasn't one of their bad articles like they normally do. This one wasn't like a clickbaity, it's happening. It was an actual like, we would like to see this happening. And I guess it coming out a week before the news was announced was just coincidence. But I totally forgot where I was going with this. Oh yeah. So my thoughts of why Warner Brothers are doing this. I think the whole reason they scrapped a Constantine series in the first place was because they didn't think he was popular enough with like mainstream audiences. Obviously, DC fans and people who are on Twitter and they talk about Constantine all the time, they know about it, but that doesn't necessarily represent how much everyone knows about Constantine. So I think they're releasing this movie as like a way of both reminding the audience, regular audience members, that Constantine's a character that exists, trying to get as many people to see it by having it be a sequel to the 2005 movie, so that they have an excuse to bring back Keanu Reeves, because Keanu Reeves sells a lot. And I think like overall it's just their kind of way of seeing what kind of sides of DC that people would be interested in. I think like with this, they wouldn't have to give it a big budget, so they can just kind of throw it out there in the movie theaters as bait, see how many people go for it. And if it's like a lot, then they can start focusing more on the like kind of darker horror side of DC. But if it ends up not doing too well, they'll probably put the darker like Justice League Dark stuff on the back burner for a while.
I did find an article here from Entertainment Weekly. They were just talking about it, the new announcement for the Constantine sequel, and it says Reeves has long been open about his desire to reprise his role as the chain-smoking, trench coat wearing hero. Speaking with Stephen Colbert last year, he said Constantine was the one character he wanted to return to the most. He said, "I would love to be John Constantine." He says, "I've tried," is what he said during their conversation last year when he spoke with them. I'm trying to see if there's any more to. He says, "I would love to be John Constantine again," he told Colbert, "but unfortunately, that's not as easy as stating the fact." When Colbert pressed on, joking about having a guest starring role in the possible future sequel, Reeves inferred that he hasn't had much luck with getting a sequel made. He says, "I've tried. I would love to." And this was back in December 14th of 2021. So literally like 9 months ago, he mentioned this. So I wonder if he knew something was in the works 9 months ago, or if they just heard what he had to say. I mean, if Keanu Reeves is saying, "Hey, I want to play Constantine again," in this time of his career, if I'm Warner Brothers, I'm saying, yeah, let's make another movie, bro. If you want to come back, I mean, we need all the help we can get in the world of our DC right now. So if you can help us draw some eyes in more, why not? So I do think, for me, I do think it is a change of course for them in regards to at least the Justice League Dark Universe side of things. But I could be wrong. I do think that they still plan on moving forward with whatever J.J. Abrams is working on. And I do think now we find ourselves with Keanu Reeves kind of at the forefront of all that. But who knows? Again, they didn't mention anything Justice League Dark related in this announcement. Just the fact that what we know for sure, Keanu Reeves is coming back as John Constantine, and it's a John Constantine sequel, and I'm definitely here for it. And Stuart, you got to watch it. You got to watch it.
I will definitely go back to it. And yeah, I think it might be kind of a mixture of all three of all three of our thoughts. So basically, I think that it's your thoughts on them maybe considering having him leading the Justice League Dark, me on like whether or not they're just using it to see if people would be interested. And then I think the main thing that like kind of helped this project get lifted off the ground was, like you mentioned, with Keanu Reeves apparently having been interested for the past year.
Yeah, I'm hoping so. And Blossom says, "I'm getting sick of reboots myself. I wonder if that was one of the reasons for their changing of course too." Marcelino says, "If Constantine is returning, please don't change the character's face like they did on Legends of Tomorrow. He looked like Matt Walsh, and it was not pleasing to look at." And it's like, bringing this up, it does make me wonder if Shia LaBeouf is going to come back.
How big was his role in the first movie?
He was his taxi driver. I think he like drove him to and from wherever he needed to go. I can't remember the full extent of how involved he was, but I do remember Shia being in that movie. I wouldn't mind Shia LaBeouf coming back too.
Yeah,
we'll see though. We'll see. I think he's a great actor. But yeah, guys, let us know your thoughts. What's your excitement level here? Keanu Reeves coming back as John Constantine. Gonna go ahead and get ourselves a Constantine sequel. What do you think of the overall bigger picture that this means? Certainly go ahead and let your thoughts be known in the live chat or the comment section box below.
Watch me like watch a Constantine by next Sunday, and suddenly like my opinion shifts from to oh my god, this movie needs to come out now.
I mean, we'll see. It's been forever since I've even checked out the Constantine movie myself. It's probably definitely been like a good 10 years since I last revisited the film. So I definitely might have to do that myself. But let's go ahead and move on to our next topic. We are going to stick in the world of DC, but we will go more DC television side of things. As we've talked about the idea of the Warner Brothers Discovery merger not only being kind of messy, but unfortunately there being some shows, some of our fan favorite shows that have already gotten the axe, and some shows that we're very uncertain about and still kind of questioning what their future is certainly going to be. One of those shows, though, that we at least know we're going to be getting at least one more season of is the HBO Max series Titans. That's right, guys. If you're big Teen Titans fans, Titans is entering its fourth season. It was renewed for a fourth season. It is currently in production, being filmed. So it is a season that we're definitely going to be getting here. Now, whether or not we get a season after that is certainly up in the air. But some new developments coming out from Titans season 4, as we have ourselves a brand new villain that's going to be gracing our television screen here. And certainly a fan favorite and a very interesting choice here, Stuart, if you ask me. I feel like we've seen quite a few iterations of this particular character, some quite recent. So it'll be interesting to see how this actor winds up bringing this villain to life when it comes to working on the side of the Titans. So when it comes to Titan season 4, the showrunner has let us know that Lex Luthor will in fact be in this upcoming season of Titans as one of the main villains. This comes to us from Entertainment Weekly. It says Titans showrunner previews Titus Welliver's arrival as Lex Luthor. It turns out the Bosch star is a huge fan of DC Comics and barely had to be convinced to play the infamous supervillain. So look, whether or not Titans are going to Metropolis this year instead of Gotham like last season, who certainly knows? But Lex Luthor is certainly making this play to have big involvement for the fourth season. It says casting Titus Welliver in Titans was not a hard sell. Though best known for playing the hard-nosed title detective on Bosch, Welliver is actually a big comics fan, as Titans showrunner Greg Walker discovered when he called the actor to pitch him on playing Lex Luthor. And here's a very first image here, if you will, of Titus Welliver as Lex Luthor talking opposite of Starfire. This is what the showrunner says. He says, you usually have to do this whole dog and pony show to get an actor to do this show. He says, but when I called to kind of lure him in, I could barely get a word in. We were talking on the phone and he was just walking through his library, telling me about all his Wolfman Perez Titans editions. He's a giant fan. He'd watched every episode of the show and could tell me about certain stories, certain shots. It was the most unexpected call I ever had. And so it looks like that's going to be Titus Welliver's Lex Luthor right there in this particular shot. It says Welliver's Luthor, who you can see in the first look photo above, poses an interesting challenge for the Titans. Despite being one of the most infamous supervillains in the DC canon, he's still just human. His threat is intellectual and psychological. He has a very sensitive, thoughtful approach to evil and power. You know what he's done, what he's capable of doing, except like many of those people, he's personable. He doesn't have a cat on his lap. Yeah, he's curious, which I think is very interesting about his character. He wants to know about people and what makes them tick and how they're different from him. He sees the world through the lens of both his own power and his own inadequacies and tries to compensate for both. It says Luthor is particularly threatening for Superboy. Connor was created from a combination of Superman's DNA with Luthor's. This season, Connor will finally have to reckon with what that means. And the showrunner even says, we're really going deeper into all these characters and shaking them up. What makes Connor up is an identity story. He's explored his Superman self, but he has not really explored his Lex self. What does that mean when you do? What happens when you give that self the keys to the car? Does it start driving the wrong way at rush hour? 100 miles an hour is the big question that they certainly have to pose. So, yeah, Lex Luthor in here, not only from a Titan standpoint, Stuart, of just being a threat villain wise, but also understanding the bigger implications for what it's going to do to Connor Kent, good old Superboy here. So let me throw this over to you first. Lex Luthor being one of the main antagonists for Titan season 4. Did you see it coming? And if not, or even if so, how do you feel about his addition to Titan season 4?
I did not see this casting choice coming at all. In fact, when I first looked at this image here, my thought was, man, if they want a guy to look so much like John Cryer's Lex Luthor, why didn't they just get John Cryer? Because it's almost the exact same design, except this guy has like muscle on him. But yeah, and it's funny too, because in this photo, I didn't even recognize him because I'm not used to him ever having a beard, you know?
Me either, bro.
I'm so used to him being clean shaven, but he looks good as Lex Luthor. So I think this is an awesome casting choice. Really good actor overall. And the fact that he's a fan also gets me really excited. The fact that he's a fan of Teen Titans also gets me excited. And then on top of that, they're developing one of my favorite storylines from the what's his name? Jeff Johns' run of Teen Titans, where we get Connor finally kind of exploring the Lex Luthor side, but unfortunately finding out that there is a sleeper kind of code within his brain. So he ends up turning on the Titans. So I'm curious if we might get that storyline because dude, it is heartbreaking. It is a heartbreaking story, and especially like the aftermath from it, because even though the team forgives him, he definitely doesn't forgive himself. And I'm curious if they're going to be exploring it to the same depth that the comic books did. But yeah.
I hope it is something that they kind of explore. When it comes to Titans, I'm not going to put all my faith in it because I do think sometimes they do have a way of fumbling some storylines, especially towards the later half of seasons. But I do think that the show will kick off on a great foot. I feel like the momentum for Titans has really picked up like season after season, if you ask me. Season 3 was probably by far my favorite. And I don't know if it was the switch up of the Gotham aesthetics and the tone of what being in Gotham really entailed. But the fact that we're going into season 4 here and we're going to be getting ourselves Lex Luthor is an interesting decision. And you're right, when it comes to Titus Welliver, he is a great actor. And when I did see this photo too, I did not notice that was him at all. I was like, who is this guy? And I had to look him up. I was like, oh, that's Titus. Oh, he looks nothing like this photo. But apparently that's him. I think it's the beard that really does it for him. But so one, I think they did a great job with the casting in here. Look, I'm a huge fan of John Cryer. I loved his version of Lex Luthor. But to be honest, like that version of Lex Luthor is maybe not everybody's Lex Luthor, right? Like that always felt very inspired by Gene Hackman from the original Superman movies with John Cryer's little twist. And it worked perfectly for me and for him. Chris says, don't forget, Jesse Eisenberg is the best Lex Luthor ever. So we've definitely had some iterations of Lex Luthor, but I definitely trust Titus here to go ahead and bring this character to life. If he's somebody that not only knows DC lore and DC comics, especially the Titans himself, I think him as an actor, knowing his background, probably knows how the Titans tick a little bit and their own personality traits and what works for them and what doesn't. And for him now to come in as a villain and to engulf that personality that is Lex Luthor, I really do think that he's going to have some fun here. And I do think that we're going to find ourselves with a very powerful Lex Luthor, very psychological Lex Luthor. I am even curious, like, is Homeboy at this point president of the United States? Is he not? Like, where is he certainly in his lifespan? But I do think this is a great addition. I think the shakeup from Gotham really worked with Titans. And while I don't know if we're going to Metropolis with the Titans in here or if Lex is going wherever they are, I think the idea of the choice of Lex Luthor in here is another one to definitely go ahead and shake up this team. And Stuart, and I do want to talk with you about the Connor Kent situation here, especially if Lex Luthor is introduced. You know, they said that they teased Connor's Superman side the past season or so, which I mean, I guess they did, but there were always elements of a darker side to Connor Kent. That always fascinated me, especially when we got to see him in Gotham last year. The whole idea of him like destroying Starfire's ship and stuff, like just really like villainous aspects of things. Like, you're not going anywhere, you know, you can't leave me behind. I was like, oh my God, like, is Connor gonna snap at some point? Like, I really thought that they were gonna be building up to a moment of Connor maybe being a villain for like half the season or something like that. We didn't get it, but it does show another side to this man. And I would be interested to see, with Lex Luthor now being introduced, you know, does that really flip the switch on Superboy, and how much of a threat is he going to pose to the Titans this season? I am kind of curious if Superboy ends up being like a season 2 or season 4 part B villain, you know, for the later half of the series or not. But I think this is a great pickup, man. I think it's a great pickup, great casting choice.
Yeah, I found some images from the comic book that I read where this storyline took place, and yeah, so a couple different shots I would love to see if they do it, like the idea of him like kind of ripping an L into his chest, like over where the Superman logo is, and then
is that Connor?
Yep,
he shaved his head to be like his dad. His
yeah, it was like I said, kind of like like a tick, like it basically kind of like a sleeper code type of a thing. So he just kind of out of nowhere suddenly turns like evil, like the Lex side of him just fully takes over. So yeah, he fully embraces it by shaving his head and then and then carving an L into his shirt. And you know, we get this shot too here where it's Lex in his suit and then fighting alongside with the Superboy.
Jesus, what a combo.
Yeah. So if this is the storyline that they're adapting for season 4, I don't know how they're going to be able to fit that in along with Brother Blood, because that seems like two completely different storylines. But I'm definitely
that's right.
intrigued,
Brother Blood is in here. See, and there we go again, Stuart. There we go again. But Brother Blood is in this too.
Yeah.
Again, though, as much as there are aspects of Titans that I enjoy, sometimes I wonder if they do themselves a disservice by including so much. You know, Brother Blood, I feel like, is a perfect character for his own season. And now you want to introduce Lex Luthor and possibly a Superboy storyline as a part of that. They've always felt like they've struggled to juggle multiple storylines with such a big ensemble cast. I think season 3 was the best that they've utilized it, but again, I still feel like even towards the later half of that season, it got kind of questionable. That is my uncertainty when it comes to season 4. Great premises, but will the execution be there? And I think that's always been the detriment, but exciting stuff to build up to for season 4, I will admit.
Yeah, and I definitely agree with you. So, like, as excited as I am about these things, yeah, I still haven't been a fan of the way they've executed a lot of these great premises. I think like season 2 is the big one that comes in mind, because I feel like that one was the one where they had so many great pieces there, and they had the settings for like a perfect season, and it just suddenly went off the rails, and not in a good way. Like halfway through, like suddenly it was almost like they got bored of their Deathstroke storyline, and we're like, let's just do Cadmus instead. And just that's when like it felt like things left lost complete focus. You know, with season 3 of Titans, I think it was a lot better because it was able to at least stay on track. But at the same time, I also didn't really think it was as I don't know. I didn't really like the whole thing where they were staying in Gotham the entire time, because it felt like such a small task that they were making it out to seem way more complicated than it actually was, you know?
Yeah, no, I totally get you there.
So it's almost like season 3 had the opposite problem as season 2.
Yeah, you certainly might be right. You know, speaking of season 2, Marcelino Vasquez says, also off topic, but did you think it was BS the way Down Detroit was killed off by a telephone pole? Yes, it was pure BS. Absolutely.
Yes.
He also says, hopefully Lex Luthor is a better villain than Crane. The villains kept getting weaker every season. Season 1 was a demon. Season 2 was an assassin. Season 3 was a junkie with no powers or special training. Um, yeah, it always bewildered me. Like, just go get Jonathan Crane, guys. Just literally breaking the fucking Bruce Wayne's thing. Just get this man. What are you waiting for? So yeah, I definitely had my issues with it. But I mean, I'm hoping Lex Luthor certainly brings his own psychological sort of villainy and power to this season. And so if anything, I am looking forward to the Lex Luthor aspect, the Connor Kent aspect, and I do wonder if this will put Gar in a bigger picture, since him and Connor Kent are such buddies and sort of like attached at the hip. If it's not his storyline with Connor Kent, maybe it'll be him, who I would assume possibly with Raven and the Brother Blood storyline, perhaps. So a lot of moving pieces when it comes to season 4, but certainly a lot to get excited about and look forward to, and just keep our fingers crossed that they execute it well.
So I want to wait until after, of course, season 4 comes out. But I am kind of curious because I've been saying for a while that, if they ever brought John Cryer into Superman and Lois, it would work. He would just have to play the role a little bit different. But I think he has that capability. But now, depending on how this guy does in Titans, I might change my mind and I might want him as
you
Lex
might
Luthor
want him
and
as
Superman
Lex.
and Lois. Yeah, but again, I want to wait till it comes out and see.
Yeah, it might work. But yeah, guys, Titus Welliver, the new Lex Luthor here. Out of all the Lex Luthor iterations that we've had, who have you appreciated as your Lex Luthor? Let me know your thoughts in the comment section box below. And what do you guys think Titus Welliver will bring as Lex Luthor to season 4 of Titans? Let your thoughts also be known in the comment section box below. All right, Stuart, we're gonna go ahead and a little change of pace here, if you will, from DC to some Marvel talk. Stuart, is we've got a little bit of a Avengers discussion on our hands as we continue to see how phase 4 of the MCU is certainly shaping up. Now, the last time we've seen a full-fledged Avengers team was, in fact, at the end of Avengers Endgame. It's got ourselves a fantastic credit sequence to say farewell and thank you to all the veterans of the MCU over the past years that have really put together our Avengers team. It definitely was a beautiful sort of send-off to an amazing Infinity Saga, if you ask me. So going into phase 4, we definitely had ourselves a lot of questions, right? Like, what are our heroes up to now? What's the biggest threat that's certainly out there? Is this team even together? And when we come to our Disney Plus shows, we see a lot of these characters getting their own sort of shows, right? Wanda and Vision getting WandaVision, Falcon and the Winter Soldier getting Falcon and the Winter Soldier television series. And the list goes on and on. We've even had ourselves a Black Widow solo movie, even though she's no longer alive. Even got ourselves a Doctor Strange movie with no mention of getting the team back together or whatever the case may be. So we've been really kind of up in the air trying to figure out what is the status of the Avengers as of right now. And believe it or not, ladies and gentlemen, we have that information, that confirmation for you, if you will, from Kevin Feige himself, to give us a much better idea, Stuart, in regards to what is the landscape of the MCU and where are the Avengers during this time. So let's go ahead and dive into this article together. This comes to us from thedirect.com. Now, this article will lead into another aspect that I definitely want to go ahead and break down. But when it comes to the Avengers, Stuart, according to Kevin Feige, he confirms that the Avengers no longer exist. No longer exists. It seems as though the ramifications of Endgame have really put a stop to the Avengers, or maybe they've just kind of broken up after that. It says, first, the team disbanded. Then a few years later began treating being a part of the Avengers like a full-time job. Eventually, they found themselves divided over the Sokovia Accords and wound up coming to blows. It wasn't until several years later that they reassembled to fend off Thanos and his forces. But after Avengers Endgame, the team has been MIA, having lost Steve, Tony, and Nat, with the rest going their separate ways. He says, are the Avengers as an organized team still in operation? I said, speaking at the stage of D23 while announcing the Thunderbolts lineup, Kevin Feige confirmed that the Avengers don't currently exist in the MCU following the events of Avengers Endgame. This is what he says. He says, one thing in the Captain America film is that there currently is a world without the Avengers. So it does seem as though immediately the new Captain America film, New World Order, will tackle that very premise, a world without the Avengers. Sam Wilson finds himself as Cap at a time where there's not an organization of Avengers around at this time. Of course, this would can I close this? Oh, can I close this, Stuart? This ad? No. Why is this ad
Yeah,
right over what I need to read?
the direct's like, if you want to get rid of our ad, you got to pay $20 a month.
Come on, bro. Come on, bro. Y'all killing me. It does say that Feige assures the crowd, though, that the MCU would find a new team of soups in the meantime in the Thunderbolts. He says, but just because there's not an organization of the Avengers doesn't mean there's not a group of superheroes in the MCU. Not a group, perhaps, as the Avengers, but there's a group, and they're called the Thunderbolts. Furthermore, Captain America himself, Anthony Mackie, added that the previous Avengers heroes are all unemployed. While speaking in an interview with Variety, he says, all the Avengers are unemployed. We have a new and improved group. No, they're over there with their Metamucil and, hanging out. We're the new guys. We're the top dogs now. So yeah, Stuart, no more Avengers. The Avengers are currently no more, according to Kevin Feige. They're not an organized group as of right now. They've clearly have gone and departed and went their separate ways. And Kevin Feige is really throwing in the hat of this is where the Thunderbolts come into play, which I think is a really great idea when you think of the phase and how they have the phase set up. They literally have Captain America, New World Order, and then the next movie right after that is in fact Thunderbolts. So it feels like it's going to answer that question of what maybe Captain America opens the door for. There not being an organized team of Avengers, this world maybe needing a group of heroes, if you will. And voila, here come the Thunderbolts. How do you feel about this idea of the MCU not having the Avengers as of right now? I feel like this is maybe something we kind of assumed, but hearing it from Kevin Feige and really how the Thunderbolts play into that, what are some of your thoughts?
Yeah, that's kind of been my assumption since Spider-Man No Way Home, because that would seem to be the one where, or no, not No Way Home, Far From Home, because that would seem to be the one where they were first bringing that up, like, are the Avengers still a thing? And then not to mention, like, just with Captain America and Iron Man being gone, they were the ones that really kept the team together. It makes sense to me that, like, currently in the MCU there isn't like an organized Avengers team. It's just, each of them are still heroes, but they're all doing their own thing at the moment because there isn't like a giant threat that requires them to work together. So to me, that all makes total sense, and I think it's going to make the Thunderbolts that much more of an interesting movie, because now we're going to have a team that essentially, like, I'm not 100% sure how they're going to operate, but I'm assuming they're definitely not going to be doing things the same way as the Avengers. So I'm wondering if the Thunderbolts are going to be what brings the Avengers back in the end. It's not necessarily because they themselves are a threat. It's because of how they handled the threat, being like so much, causing so much more damage than the Avengers ever would have. That's where I think they're going with it. But regardless, it is a very interesting scenario that the MCU is in right now.
Yeah, I totally would agree with you there. I am kind of curious how the Thunderbolts play into the bigger scheme of things here. Yeah, is it a case of maybe they're not handling things as well as the Avengers once did, and so maybe it's got some people worried, or maybe asking like, "Hey, this Thunderbolts team, it's cool, great on paper, but they're not necessarily getting the job done the way that we were hoping that they would." I'm not sure how that would play out, but it'll be interesting. For me, you're probably right. Like, I think there is a part of us that assume that the Avengers were no longer together, maybe kind of doing their own solo thing. I mean, look, after the Infinity Saga, everybody probably definitely needs a vacation. I'm sure there's probably no big world threat that's certainly out there. And I think after watching something like Falcon and the Winter Soldier and understanding where the world is not only after the blip, but after those 5 years and everybody kind of coming back, the world's kind of been thrusted a little bit into a lot of disarray as it tries to figure itself out. And I do wonder if there's a contingency of people out there that maybe even feel, the Avengers don't need to be together. I wonder if there's some people that blame the idea of the Avengers in the first place for being together as to why we got these big threats, right? And if you've seen the Avengers try and do something and lose, and you'll lose half your population for 5 years, and the Avengers do save the world again, and you get these people back, it does. For me, I would think it would probably ask the bigger question of, are the Avengers truly helping us? Do we need an organized superhero team? Now that we've got our people back, there's no bigger threat. Do we even need them to begin with? So definitely a lot of questions that I am hoping that the Captain America movie and Thunderbolts kind of both tackle. And so, like, when I look at what Kevin Feige has been doing, Stuart, in the sense of, we haven't had an Avengers movie. He's been very adamant that it's going to be a while before we get an Avengers movie. It makes sense that we're kind of getting these spin-offs and these one-off series, because they're technically not a team, but we still want to follow their adventures of them as solo heroes, if you will. So for me, it's going to be interesting to see what ends up actually bringing the Avengers team together, because I'm sure we will get ourselves an official team at some point in time, whether that be Kang Dynasty or whether that wind up being Secret Wars. I do think at some point in time the Avengers team will come together, but I kind of dig the premise and the idea of wanting to know, what are the reasons for there not being a team? Is it the team's decision to not be together anymore? Or is it just an unpopular decision by many in the world that think maybe the Avengers were the cause of things, and with there not being a bigger threat anymore, why need them? And so kind of see how that plays out, and what really brings the Thunderbolts to the forefront will be really fascinating to me. So those are two back-to-back movies that I think is going to carry a lot of momentum to really kind of help shape and give us a much better understanding of the teams within this MCU as of right now. But yeah, man, like you said, I think it's something that we assumed, but hearing Kevin Feige actually say it just carries a lot of different weight, I think.
Yeah, and I think, like, what it comes down to is it doesn't matter how good the Avengers do. The government, especially, people like Thunderbolt Ross, are always going to think they could have done better. And so that's what I think the
Mhm.
Thunderbolts are going to be, is them being like, hey, we can do better than the Avengers. And of course, when you look at the people who, you look at the fact that it's the same people who thought dropping a nuke on New York City was the solution to the Qatari invasion, I feel like we could get something like that. There's going to be a decision that gets made that has devastating consequences that would have never happened if the Avengers were involved.
I kind of dig that idea, actually. I kind of dig that premise. I can definitely see something like that happening with the Thunderbolts. It makes me wonder, like, if we would even get a Thunderbolts versus Avengers sort of moment on the big
Yeah.
screen at all. Do you think that's something that they are building towards, or no?
I think it could definitely happen, whether it's in Secret Wars or in King Dynasty, or I mean, even in the Thunderbolts movie itself, you could have like some Avengers like trying to stop them. I think, yeah, the idea of Thunderbolts versus the Avengers is a huge possibility.
And speaking of Thunderbolts, this past week they actually did go ahead and talk. Comicbook.com actually talked with the Thunderbolts director and cast to kind of tease what was upcoming for the Thunderbolts cast. And they actually spoke a little bit with David Harbour, who's playing Red Guardian here. He says, I obviously feel incredibly lucky to even have a cast like this, and to get characters that have such richness and depth, and to see what happens when they square off. That's actually what the director wind up saying backstage. Um, it says David Harbour, who plays the Russian soldier, added, they might lose. Yeah, success is not necessarily guaranteed. He also says it's actually going to be really nice to play the kind of painless strengths of Ghost and see where that takes her. He also added that he will get a new suit in Thunderbolts. At least that's what he was told. He says, yeah, you watch that Captain America and you see him in all these different movies with the white star, the black star. I just want a full closet of suits, so I'm well on my way. And there goes that great friendly rivalry, if you will, between Red Guardian and Captain America. He wants just as many suits as Cap goes. But when it comes to the lineup, I do want to bring up something that Marcelino said. He says the theory of Zemo secretly being Taskmaster might be debunked since it's confirmed that the actress who played her in Black Widow will return, but the actress wasn't present at D23, so maybe not. Do you think that's a red herring, Stuart, or do you think there is something still to that Baron Zemo theory of him being the one behind the mask?
I don't see it happening. I'm not saying it's not a possibility, but I kind of doubt it.
Yeah, I really wanted to be Zemo, and I only say that just because I wasn't the biggest fan of Taskmaster in Black Widow. I mean, I think it definitely fit the purpose of the story, but they definitely took their liberties for sure. But I was really looking for something a little bit more comic book accurate, and I thought maybe she died at the end of Black Widow, but maybe Natasha actually kept her alive because of how she felt at the first failed attempt, I should say, when she was younger. So the idea of maybe keeping her alive. So I am going to be fascinated to see exactly if it is that same actress that's coming back. There's a part of me that wants to see them do something different. Because honestly, Stuart, when I look at this lineup, the only person that really just doesn't do anything for me is the Ghost character that David Harbour kind of talked about. And if it's not Baron Zemo under the Taskmaster, then I feel like I'm going to have two characters that I really don't care too much about, certainly on this team. And I just think there's a lot more opportunities that they could do with the Taskmaster instead of just having the same actress reprise her role. I guess for me, just storyline purposes from Black Widow would be like, hey, I thought we vindicated you. Like, I thought I saved your life. Why would you want to go back into being the Taskmaster again and continue to do those deeds? So I don't know, but I'm hoping that there is more to the Taskmaster storyline, and hopefully Baron Zemo is involved. But we'll see what the finished product is. That's just my own speculation, though.
Well, something that these guys all have in common, and what I think will help make some of the lesser, because I think like with Ghost and Taskmaster, the reason a lot of people aren't excited for them is because we don't really know much about them. But I think that's what the purpose of this film is going to do. It's going to flesh their characters out. And
Right.
one thing that all these characters have in common is that even though none of them are good people, they all want to be. They all want to be, doing good. And the one lady that recruits all of them totally knows this about all of them. So she, I feel like that's something we're going to see them all that they're all going to get exploited, basically, is their need for doing good, but then, finding out that they're not on the right side necessarily. So I think in this movie, people will have a very changed mind by the end of it, of these characters, whether or not it's a changed mind in a good way, or if suddenly it just makes them, hate these characters even more. I guess that's what we'll have to wait and find out.
And I do think I do think you make a good point there. I do think the idea of them being in this movie, even David Harbour talks a little bit about Ghost and the idea of some of these characters getting an opportunity to be fleshed out a little bit more. So you're right. Like when I look at the Black Widow movie and even Ant-Man and the Wasp, those were two movies that were on the underwhelming side for me. So I already have sort of a bad impression and a taste in my mouth for both of those characters because I just didn't like the way that they were utilized or even explored. But now that they are coming back and they're going to be directed and written by just two completely different people, this is an opportunity to make those characters actually mean something a little bit more in this movie. So I do think you're absolutely right that we will get a much different look at them. So the end, it really will all come down to the end result. So you make a good point. But yeah, guys, let us know your thoughts. What do you feel like when it comes to the Avengers being no more? Avengers disassembled at this point, not being an organized team, yet the Thunderbolts are certainly going to be making their opportunity here to give the world maybe what they are in need of as of right now. But let us know your thoughts in the live chat or the comment section box below. And with that out of the way, we will continue to talk a little bit more about the Avengers here, Stuart, as the next Avengers movie, while it's still certainly a little bit of ways, we have been getting some information as to who's going to be not only the director, but the writer for this upcoming movie. A couple of weeks back, we talked heavily about the idea of Destin Daniel Cretton, the director and writer for Shang-Chi, also the executive producer on the upcoming Wonder Man series. He's actually going to be directing Avengers the Kang Dynasty. And one of the things that we talked about during that time, Stuart, was now that we've got the director in place, who's actually going to be the writer? And ladies and gentlemen, we finally have our team fully assembled here, as not only do we have the director on board, but we officially have a writer as well. Let's go ahead and dive into this, Stuart. This comes to us from deadline.com, letting us know that for Avengers Kang Dynasty, Jeff Loveness is in fact tapped to write the next installment in Marvel's series. It says exclusive after announcing the Kang Dynasty at this year's Comic-Con, Marvel Studios look to have found the writer who will now pen the highly anticipated film. Sources tell Deadline that Jeff Loveness, who recently wrote Ant-Man and the Wasp: Quantumania, will pen Kang Dynasty for Marvel. Loveness will join Destin Daniel Cretton, who was recently set as director on the project, with Marvel Studios president Kevin Feige producing. Marvel had no comment, and the pick is set to bow May 2nd. So it says the film was part of a massive unveiling of the future phase of the MCU, with Cretton announced as director shortly after the convention ended. Not much is known about the film, but the big character at the center of it is the new supervillain set to wreak havoc on the MCU, Kang the Conqueror, played by Jonathan Majors. It says Loveless cut his teeth writing on the acclaimed and widely popular animated series Rick and Morty. His work on that ultimately landed him the Ant-Man and the Wasp sequel, giving how funny the series can be and how important that tone is to the script. Yeah, Stuart. So we've got our writer here, good old Jeff Loveless. And let me say this real quick, and then I'll let you go first, or I'll let you go after this. One of the things that I have noticed when it comes to Phase 4 of the MCU is, Stuart, this is being navigated by Rick and Morty writers, man. Um, Kevin Feige clearly sees something in their work, for them to tackle this bigger multiverse storyline that we have here. Maybe it's the crazy scientific sci-fi elements that they've tackled so much in Rick and Morty, the great balance of drama and comedy. Seeing what they've been able to do, because we've had Michael Waldron, that has attached himself to Loki season 1, if I'm not mistaken. He was also a part of the writing team for Doctor Strange Into the Multiverse of Madness. There was somebody else too that I think was from Rick and Morty that was working on another project. I can't remember if it was WandaVision, one of the writers, but there is another Rick and Morty writer out there that's also working on MCU stuff. And now we've got Jeff Loveness, who, again, from Rick and Morty, tackling Quantumania, and now also this Avengers movie. So for me, I think it's pretty cool that these Rick and Morty writers are getting this opportunity. I feel like this is right up their alley. Seeing what they were capable of doing with Jonathan Majors in the finale for Loki season 1 already has me hyped. And I think they're really pushing the envelope of what the MCU can certainly do. I've been one of those people, Stuart, that have been very critical of Ant-Man and the Wasp, the second Ant-Man film, and really have wanted to see them do something a little bit different for Quantumania. My excitement already comes from Jonathan Majors being attached to that. But now that we've got Jeff Loveness, who has been attached to Kang Dynasty, it actually even gives me further, I don't want to say confirmation, but even further hype and anticipation for what Quantumania could possibly be. Because if you ask me, I do think, and it would be foolish not to think that all these writers and Kevin Feige haven't been sitting down together in a room and planning out the bigger overall scope. And so to kind of see these Rick and Morty guys really kind of flesh out the direction in which the MCU is going and carrying that momentum over from series to movie or from movie to another movie really gets me excited that big things are certainly coming down the pipe for the MCU. And I do think while some people have felt that phase four has been maybe a little bit unbalanced, not necessarily sure where it's going, I do think that the overall bigger picture will certainly showcase itself. And I think the Rick and Morty writers are definitely building up to that. Because I think even Kevin Feige came out and said Ant-Man and the Wasp Quantumania is really sort of the beginning charge to lead us all the way into Avengers, the Kang Dynasty. So if it's Jeff Loveness here who's kicking that off with Quantumania, it feels just right up his alley for him to go ahead and end it, if you will, for Kang Dynasty. But I'm excited for this. I think Jeff Loveless is a great writer, and if anything, I think we'll get a much better understanding of what he's creating once we see Quantumania for ourselves. But I think this is a great pickup and a really cool combination, I think, of director and writer to go ahead and tackle this next Avengers movie. But you hear this, Stuart, Jeff Loveness being tapped as the writer for Kang Dynasty. What are your thoughts, man? Are you hyped for it? Are you worried about it? Give me your overall thoughts.
Yeah, you're definitely right about the Rick and Morty stuff. They've even like kind of, I feel like, joked about it a lot on Rick and Morty itself. Like even in the most recent season, you have like the ongoing gag where it's like Rick is clearly a Marvel fan, but he pretends that he's too good for Marvel movies. And yeah, I think that's what it comes down to. Is like Dan Harmon jokingly once said, "Oh my God, Marvel is stealing all of my good writers." I swear. But yeah, I think this is cool news right now. But of course, I do kind of want to wait until I see Ant-Man Quantumania before like getting my hopes too high up about him being the writer. Because while this guy has written a lot of Rick and Morty episodes that I really like, in fact, he actually wrote the season finale for season 5, which was freaking amazing. You know, it's still like two very different things that you're writing for. One's a 30-minute cartoon, or not even that. One's a 20-minute cartoon, and the other is a full-length comic book movie. So while I'm pretty sure it's safe to say this guy is smart and knows what he's doing, and he knows not to bring the exact style of writing that you would bring to Rick and Morty to, you know, a Marvel movie, it is going to be kind of interesting to see like how it all plays out. So once I think once I see Quantumania, that'll kind of determine my overall hype level for him writing Kang Dynasty.
Yeah, and I would agree with you. I do think the idea really is to check out Quantumania and see what he's going to be bringing to the table. The other person from Rick and Morty, the other writer, Jessica Gao, who is she was a writer on Rick and Morty, and she's currently writing the She-Hulk series, Attorney at
Oh, that
Law.
makes so much sense.
So yeah, so that comedy aspect definitely showcases itself there. And I also just think in the bigger overall scheme of tapping into multiverses and realms and stuff, it feels like that's almost right up their alley. But you're right, it is completely different writing for an animated sitcom, if you will, compared to a full-fledged not only movie but a cinematic universe of having to keep all these pieces together. So I definitely do think you're right there.
Watch him eventually do the Council of Reeds, and you get like just one of the Reeds is just a Rick in the background being like, "Oh crap, wrong place, wrong Citadel."
Like it definitely makes me feel like Kevin Feige is allowing them to certainly keep their writing style and their creativity and have fun with it, but maybe not going too overboard like some maybe Rick and Morty scripts have been. But I do think that I think Kevin Feige is keeping them very well balanced, and I do think that they're really pushing the envelope because again, I was a big fan of the Loki series. You know, the Multiverse of Madness, a movie I enjoyed. I do think it certainly could have been better. And then you just add Jonathan Majors to Quantumania and Kang Dynasty, and I'm just thinking, man, these guys have gotten so many rich opportunities and so much incredible talent to work with that I can't wait to see like what their ideas are and actually putting their ideas to fruition for a movie, and I can't wait to see what it looks like.
Yeah, same here.
And, and I will say this too, Stuart. I am starting to, when me and Indy wind up doing our phase 6 predictions, I believe we were trying to figure out like some of the upcoming blank spots that were there. When it comes to Kang Dynasty, that alone is a Avengers storyline from the comic books. I was kind of always under the impression, or at least one of the things I'm kind of leaning to is, I called for an independent, like um, a solo Young Avengers movie after Kang Dynasty, but there's also a part of me that wonders whether or not that Kang Dynasty movie is a Young Avengers movie. What would you assume? Do you think that it's a Young Avengers movie technically, or do you think Young Avengers will get its own solo film?
I think Young Avengers is going to get its own solo film. I think King Dynasty is going to be a mixture of veteran and Young Avengers. So you'll have, Sam Wilson leading the team, that kind of stuff, but you'll still have, probably Miss Marvel on the team. But then I do think we are eventually going to get like a just the Young Avengers type of movie later on.
I certainly hope so. I definitely want them to get their opportunity to shine for sure. But yeah, guys, go ahead and certainly let us know your thoughts. So it looks as though, Stuart, Kang Dynasty has got all its ducks in a rows that it needs right now with its writer and director on board. If anything, maybe there'll be some casting announcements here as we get closer and closer. It's still quite some time away, and we have a ton of other MCU stuff to certainly enjoy before then. But it's great to certainly see that they have at least their first Avengers film here put together. And I almost kind of wonder if we'll even get a creative team announced for Secret Wars next up before they even announce casting or full storylines. I've been hearing people talk about the idea of Ryan Coogler possibly as the director for Secret Wars. How would you like that? Or we want to speculate on that?
If that ends up being the case, that would be pretty cool. Not gonna lie.
Yeah, I think for me, especially if Wakanda Forever does what I think it's gonna do, I think that would be a fantastic reward, if you will, for Ryan Coogler for everything that he's had to done and like the waters he's had to navigate for putting together Wakanda Forever. Like if he's still able to make it an incredible film, a billion-dollar movie, even without Chadwick Boseman. Yeah, man, give that guy an Avengers film. Because like even just looking at the trailer alone, like visually, Ryan Coogler is just on his game, and I would love to see what he's able to do from a directing standpoint for an Avengers movie.
Yeah, because I was gonna say, if given the big uphill battle that he's doing when it comes to Wakanda Forever, if that movie ends up being a hit, and if Marvel is smart, they will give this man whatever movie he wants
He
after
wants,
that.
right? Yeah.
Obviously, it all depends on how this movie goes, but I'm going with the optimistic prediction that this movie ends up being a hit, and then he actually won that giant uphill battle he had to fight to make it.
I definitely hope so. And if anything, look, I would also understand if it got to a point to him where he was like burnt out and didn't want to do an Avengers film. Like I have no idea what Coogler even wants for his future outside of the MCU. But I am fascinated by the idea of those being potential rumors right now. So we'll keep you guys posted on development for the next upcoming Avengers films, guys. So definitely let us know your thoughts in the live chat or the comment section box below after this video airs.
I forget. Is he going to be involved with the Wakanda TV series coming to Disney Plus?
I believe so. I think maybe as an executive producer. I don't know if he's actually directing and writing it, but I could be wrong. Maybe he's writing it, but not directing episodes.
Because I was going to say if he's not involved with it, I don't see why they couldn't get him for an Avengers movie.
Yeah, definitely a possibility. I do wonder if his involvement is more executive producer, similar to that of Destin Daniel Cretton for the Wonder Man series. So we'll see how that plays out. From there, guys, we will transition over. We got two more topics for you guys that we're going to be breaking down. This next topic comes to us from the world of television. As you know, Stuart, I know you were a big fan. Well, I don't know if you were a big fan of this movie. I believe you actually had the opportunity to check it out. It's not something that I unfortunately have yet to see. But the popular franchise Blade Runner is in fact back in the news. We had the original Blade Runner with Harrison Ford. Then we wind up getting Blade Runner 2049 a couple years back, starring Ryan Gosling. And lo and behold, we wind up getting a Variety.com report this week letting us know that there are intentions for an upcoming sequel to Blade Runner 2049, and not just a sequel, but a sequel series, Stuart. Sequel series that looks like they're going to be tackling for us. So let's go ahead and dive into this. This comes to us from Variety.com. Amazon Prime has ordered a sequel series for Blade Runner 2049. So no speculation there. They have ordered it. It says Amazon has formally ordered a Blade Runner sequel series. The live action limited series titled Blade Runner 2099. Is that a Marvel comic? Was first announced as being in development at the streamer back in February, while Ridley Scott first revealed the show was in the works in November last year. Exact plot details are being kept under wraps, but the title indicates the show will take place 50 years after the events of Blade Runner 2049. Silka Louisa serves as showrunner and executive producer, with Ridley Scott also executive producing. I do like Ridley Scott executive produced content. It says Michael Green, the co-writer of Blade Runner 2049, will also executive produce, but it does not mention if like who. It says let me see here. So there's a couple of pieces. It says Tom Spezialy has joined the writer's room and will also serve as an executive producer. I'm not too familiar with Tom there, but yes, Stuart, we are getting ourselves a Blade Runner 2099 limited series from Amazon Prime. As somebody who I'm assuming is a big fan of this franchise, what are your thoughts on this? What is your relationship with Blade Runner?
So I actually haven't seen every cut of the first Blade Runner movie. I don't even remember which cut of the yeah, I've only seen one cut of the first movie, but I absolutely love it, and I think it's one of the most fantastic looking movies when you consider when it was made and the budget it was given. I mean, even not even considering the budget, it's still like an amazing looking film, and that's kind of the biggest twist about it, is that it was a low budget production, somewhat low, like low for the time. But like the sequel 2049 surprised me, because not only was it like, did it like help hold up to the hype that was kind of like being led to, not only did it still like manage to somehow live up to the hype, I think personally I actually like 2049 more than the first movie.
Oh, wow.
And I like that it wasn't trying to be like super appealing to wide audiences. It was like one of those very rare like Hollywood movies where it feels like the director is given a lot of money to be very creative, even though the studio knows they may not be getting a lot of that money back, because that's what this director has done. He's done a lot of really good movies that end up costing a lot of money, but unfortunately they usually don't end up, even though they all get very well received critically, they don't really have that much financial gain in the box office. So I hope Amazon is okay for, if they were to bring in the same director to do the series, I hope Amazon is kind of aware that they may not be getting the biggest profit out of this, but that you could still get some incredible stories from this universe, you know?
Yeah, like you feel like it's like a niche marketplace for Blade Runner, or what?
Yeah, because even the first movie wasn't like the biggest hit in theaters, even though Blade Runner and Blade Runner 2 have a huge like cult following. I don't think it's necessarily a financially like good following. You know what I mean?
I wonder why that is. I wonder if it is because of the fact that it is for just a niche market, or are the movies too long, you think?
Maybe.
Um, I don't know how long Blade Runner was, because this gentleman also did Dune, if I'm not mistaken, also, right? How did Dune do at the box office? Do you recall?
Ooh, I actually don't know. I know it did good enough for them to greenlight the sequel. So
I wonder if they were already going to do
yeah.
a sequel regardless, though. You know,
I think
like,
they were, but it technically didn't get confirmed until at least a little bit after the first movie came out. I'm sure they were planning on the sequel regardless, but Warner Brothers was going to wait until like seeing the financial success of Dune before like making it a set in stone decision.
what year did this movie come out? It was a 2021, right?
For Blade Runner, I think that was
Oh no,
2019.
I mean the Dune one. I'm sorry.
Oh, Dune, yeah, that was 2021.
Yeah, it looks like it had a budget of $165 million, and it brought in about $400 million worldwide. So it might have made its budget back barely.
Oh
Um,
yeah, then I definitely agree with this because it got released on HBO Max the same day. So if it hadn't
mm,
been for COVID, Dune probably would have done a lot better.
that certainly could have been the case also. You're absolutely right to point that out. For me, when it comes to Blade Runner, again, it's not a franchise for me personally that I got into. I still have never watched the original with Harrison Ford. It's just a little too slow. On my end, sort of thing, and because I hadn't seen the original, I didn't bother to check out the Blade Runner 2049 either. And I'm a big fan of Ryan Gosling also, so maybe that's like a sit down weekend for me to certainly go through both of those films. We'll see how it turns out. I think as a series itself, I would agree with you. While I don't know too much about the franchise, the idea of a limited series on Amazon Prime might actually work, because I do think that even if you are just diving in that world, I do think there's probably, like you mentioned, a potential for a lot of other storylines that could certainly be told or certainly come out of that, especially with the 50-year gap that we're certainly going to be exploring here from 2049 to 2099. So I do think that there's probably some sort of rich storytelling that could certainly be had. I just don't know if I'm going to be one of the few to actually watch it. But if you guys are certainly fascinated and interested in the Blade Runner series, definitely go ahead and let us know your levels of anticipation. And I just joke. I asked about the Marvel comics because Marvel had that huge line of 2099 comics from back in the day.
Oh right, yeah.
Yeah, Spider-Man 2099, X-Men 2099. I used to love some of those comic books back in the day, man. But yeah, guys, let us know your thoughts. Blade Runner 2049 coming from Amazon Prime. All right. And with that, Stuart, we got one last topic. One topic that I really am interested to pick your brain on here, because the world of the Karate Kid, I think, has been in a lot of our heads for years, especially with the revival of Cobra Kai. Karate Kid already has its own history from the first three Ralph Macchio movies, and then the Hilary Swank next Karate Kid. Then we wind up getting ourselves a reboot with Will Smith's son, Jaden, if I'm not mistaken. I can't remember what year that reboot was released, but it was also with Jackie Chan, a reboot that I actually did not mind. I actually really enjoyed what we wind up getting from that particular film. But it wasn't until recently with the Cobra Kai revival over on YouTube, and then eventually making its way over to Netflix, that really got sort of the Karate Kid franchise back in people's minds and in their mouths, talking about this particular series. Cobra Kai season 5 just dropped on Netflix, like 2 weeks ago, if I'm not mistaken, Stuart. So it feels as though the Karate Kid franchise is at an all-time high. So this announcement and this next article we're going to dive into shouldn't probably come as a surprise, but I think when we get to the nitty-gritty details of it all, maybe this actually is kind of surprising, Stuart. So let's go ahead and dive into this, because it seems as though, despite having a great Cobra Kai series, it seems as though Sony wants to reboot a new Karate Kid movie. Sony has officially announced a new Karate Kid movie, and they also did mention that they are pushing some other release dates for some of their upcoming films as well, Madam Web and Craven the Hunter, believe it or not. So let's dive into the nitty gritty of this, though. This is Sony Pictures has announced the return. This is in quotes, return of the original Karate Kid franchise. I guess this is them saying, hey, Daniel LaRusso might be back. Whoever that Jaden Smith kid probably played, nah, we don't want him no more. We don't want that kid. It says the return of the original Karate Kid franchise to the big screen by dating a new Karate Kid movie for June 7th of 2024. While the franchise has lived on thanks to Netflix's Cobra Kai series, which just debuted its 5th season on the streaming platform, this new Karate Kid project will be the franchise's first film offering since the 2010 reboot starring Jaden Smith. The 2024 Karate Kid movie does not yet have a synopsis from the studio or a cast or crew attached. Other new titles added to Sony's release calendar include some horror movies, yada, yada, yada. Okay. And yeah, they also did mention they release date shift for Madam Web That's moving from October 6th of 2023 to February 16th of 2024. And then the Aaron Taylor Johnson Craven the Hunter is moving from October 6th of 2020. Oh, it's shifting to October 6th of 2023 from January 13th of 2023. So it looks as though Craven the Hunter is taking the spot of where Madam Web was for October 6th of 2023, and Madam Web moving to February 16th of 2024. So those are the big Sony Spider-Man movies that are being moved. But really the big reveal here is that we're getting ourselves a new Karate Kid movie set for 2024. Let me throw this over to you first, Stuart, here. One of the things, or let me elaborate too on this article. For those of you who are wondering, does this movie have anything to do with the Cobra Kai series? The answer to that is an unfortunate no. The showrunner himself, or one of the writers for Cobra Kai, John Hurwitz, on his Twitter account mentioned, he says, the guys and I would love to make Karate Kid and Cobra Kai movies and hope to someday. But this one isn't from us or focused on the Cobra Kai cast. Don't know much about it, but certainly wish it well, is what the writer for Cobra Kai wind up saying. So you hear that, Stuart? You hear that Sony wants to make this movie. What are your thoughts?
Oh man, my thoughts are kind of all over the place. Let me just first say that I will probably be watching this movie when it comes out, regardless of whether or not I think it's going to be good or bad. But I think it's just bizarre, like the way Sony is wording it by saying that it's a return to the original franchise, but not connected to Cobra Kai, and the fact that the Cobra Kai writers know nothing about this. I think that's the part that's like really, really bizarre to me about this whole thing. And I'm sure it'll make a lot more sense once like they attach a writer, they attach a director, and they give a little more details on what this is going to be exactly. But as of now, yeah, it really just kind of sounds like they don't have a specific plan. They just have the idea of a Karate Kid movie being out there, and it's kind of a wait and see who gives like the best kind of pitch for a Karate Kid reboot movie. That's kind of where I think they might be at right now at the moment. But regardless, yeah, I'll be open minded and optimistic to see where they go with this.
Yeah, it does make me scratch my head a little bit too. And you already know my relationship when it comes to Sony Pictures.
Yeah.
They announced a Karate Kid movie, and I'm just like on eggshells now. I'm just kind of very patiently waiting to see how this comes together, if there's even a need for this. I guess for me, my biggest question would be, look, I get the idea of the popularity of the franchise again, right? Cobra Kai has really uplifted this franchise, has brought it back into mainstream view. And this feels very much like a Sony wanting to strike while the kettle is hot, while they've got the momentum behind them. But there is a part of me too that just thinks like, okay, so you have the momentum. Cobra Kai has helped build this franchise back up into mainstream. Why not just make a connective tissue to Cobra Kai, right? I'm almost under the impression too, Stuart, and this is just opposite of what Karate Kid is doing, that like a show like The Mandalorian and what Lucasfilm is working towards, like it would not surprise me if we end up eventually getting an announcement for like a Mandalorian movie. And like when Lucasfilm does that, I wouldn't expect them to be like, going back to the original Mandalorian franchise, and like rebooting it and giving us a whole nother story. For me, what feels appropriate as like just a spin-off movie. And that's kind of what as me as a viewer would kind of like to see when it comes to Cobra Kai. Like if Sony, if you're going to announce this, at least make it attached to what people are currently talking about and thoroughly enjoying, to kind of help set up something for a bigger movie somewhere down the path. But to just be like, hey, we're just gonna reboot and make a return to the original Karate Kid franchise again. The article itself, let me just read this, right? So it says it announces a new Karate Kid movie, the return of the original Karate Kid franchise. It does make me wonder whether or not, does that mean we're gonna get a completely new reboot for it, or is it we're returning to the franchise and in that world, but we're just going to be creating a new character that's within that world. Like everything that's come before in the Karate Kid franchise still has happened, but in this particular original Karate Kid franchise timeline. And so that is really what I'm kind of wondering here. So Stuart, if you had to guess, do you think that this is going to be a complete reboot? Like a brand new Daniel LaRusso, somebody cast as him? Or do you think they'll go the route of maybe what they did like with the next Karate Kid, introducing us to a new character, but in this particular world?
I think it's going to go one of two ways, and I really hope the first way is what they do is I think it's just going to be a complete reboot, just like the 2011 Karate Kid movie. But a part of me is worried that they might try to do the thing where it's like it's a sequel to the original Karate Kid, but nothing else, including Cobra Kai and the other Karate Kid
Oh
sequels, are going to be
no.
canon.
Oh, don't do
That's
that.
that's the
Oh.
vibe I get from the article that it sounds like they're trying to do. And I hope they don't do that because I don't know. I feel like we don't need to do those type of sequels anymore.
Like
Let's just,
retconning everything else that
yeah.
came before after it. Nah,
Exactly. We don't
man,
need
God, I
we
hope
don't
not.
need the retcon sequels. Let's just continue that universe or fully reboot it. Don't try to do like a weird in between. And if you wanted to go back to that universe, involve the writers of Cobra Kai because they said themselves that they'd be interested. And I would love to see because they've written some good movies in the past. The Harold and Kumar movies. I love those films. I would love to see what a Karate Kid movie would look like if they were behind it. So let them get involved in it in some way.
Yeah, I would agree with you. And I guess if they did go with the idea of, hey, we're just going to create a new character and place them into this universe, I guess for me that would be what I would have asked for, because then it would be like, well, if you're going to do that, you might as well just make it connected to Cobra Kai and bring those people back if that's the case. So this does feel very much almost like they are rebooting it, but the term of returning to the original Karate Kid franchise, like we're already in there, like we're
Yeah.
already messing around in that world. So how are you referencing this, or what does that mean? I guess maybe if anything, it's just a departure. Maybe they just don't want people to get confused. Like we're not bringing Jaden Smith back. Like we're not living in that world. It's definitely the Daniel LaRusso world, but does that mean giving us a new LaRusso in a more modern time of high school bullies and stuff and social media? How does that work in today's day and age? I don't watch Cobra Kai, I guess, right? Like, what is the point for
I was
needing
gonna
this
say
movie?
you already had Johnny like
Right.
commentating on like modern bullies being like, wait, so they say this stuff about you on social media, not to your face? What cowards!
I mean, yeah, it makes me scratch my head. But again, it's coming from Sony, so I almost feel like anything Sony does makes me scratch my head and makes me ask some questions.
Very
Um,
true.
so we'll see. We'll see how this goes.
Right.
Yeah, but we'll see how this goes. But guys, let us know your thoughts. What have you thought about Cobra Kai season 5? Do you find this odd that Sony is announcing a new Karate Kid movie set in as the return of the original Karate Kid franchise, whatever that certainly means? Let us know your thoughts in the live chat or the comment section box below, especially when you realize this ain't even connected to Cobra Kai, man. Like, what are we doing here? But we'll definitely keep you guys posted as more details emerge. But other than that, Stuart, I think that will do it for all of our main topics today. Side comment here from good old Kurt Marino. What's up, Kurt? Sorry for asking, but I sometimes wish you guys would go live on YouTube just to hang out with us instead of waiting for Sunday for A Plus Hero Report or any special announcement stream. I mean, we drop stuff all the time. It's maybe not necessarily live, but yeah, this is our moment to interact with you guys on a weekly basis. It's just more or less the idea, like we just don't have time for anything else. I don't think.
Yeah, if we had enough subscribers to do this full time, we totally would.
I mean, absolutely. So I appreciate you wanting to see us more, Kurt. Definitely do appreciate it. It's just really time management at this point.
As we get
Um,
more subscribers, though, it could happen.
Yeah, absolutely. And if anything, even though we do other reviews throughout the week, while they're not necessarily live, they are premiered live, so they drop live. So it does provide for, say, a live chat while you're watching along. And there are sometimes myself, I don't know if Indy or Stuart ever get the opportunity to follow up or watch their streams as their videos post, but I tend to when I know one of my reviews are posting, I do tend to jump into the live chat and certainly communicate with people that are certainly watching the videos. So I would recommend, if you want to hear from us live in some way or another, definitely check out some of our review content that we drop throughout the week. And
I
I think,
wish I could, but I think most of the time I'm always like heading to work right as the
yeah,
video's uploaded, so I usually don't have a chance to.
yeah, but I definitely try to from time to time, whether that just be keeping it on in the background, my headpiece in or whatever. But yeah, we do our best, and then we spend like a good old hour with you guys every Sunday to go ahead and go over our next section, which is what's next, Stuart?
It is time for live viewer questions.
And we got some live viewer questions for you guys today. Let me go ahead and go over to our community tab as always. So, again, always on our YouTube page, go over to community, and we've got our tab up there. 24 questions for us today. Let's see how many we can, or 25, I should say. Let's see how many we can get into. And I'm hoping that there's a variety of different questions. Sometimes there's just Power Ranger questions in here, and there are other things in the world to talk about, guys. Let's go ahead and dive through this. Good old Jessica Friedman up. Which planet for Power Rangers history would you like to see the Cosmic Fury Rangers visit? And would you like to see Superverse versions?
Oh,
Uh,
that's what they're calling the Superman and Lois universe.
Superverse?
Yeah, or that's what David Ramsey called it that in an
Nah,
interview, and now
I'm
it's kind
done.
of stuck since
I'm
then.
done. I'm done. I'm done. I'm done. No more of this. No more of this verse shit. No. Look, guys, it's just, if we're gonna do it, if it's a verse of anything, it's just the CW verse at this point. CW verse. I think that's what we should go with. Trying to create all these intricate new No, no, no. Stop, David Ramsey. Stop. It's the CW verse now. But yes, continuing. I'm sorry. Go ahead, Stuart. Yeah. Do you think would you like to see the CW verse versions of Batwoman and Oliver Queen? Oh, I guess that's why they call it Superverse. See, that's what? No, I don't. No, I don't want to see any of this. I don't want to see any of this. How about you, Stuart? Do you need a whole new Oliver Queen?
I mean, it would be kind of cool to see some of the other superheroes that we've seen on the other shows, like on Superman and Lois. I don't know if I'd want them to be like different versions of those characters or basically just kind of like similar. But yeah, I'd be down to see it. It's not something I need to see, but I'd be down.
I've just lost all I've just lost all excitement for this universe, man. Like the
Yeah.
showrunners coming out and just saying, "Oh no, we're in a completely different universe, guys. We took the liberties to change." Like what? Like no, like no. If it's not connected anymore, I just can't celebrate like that, man. I can't get hyped like I once used to. But that's just me.
No, that makes a lot of sense. But as for the first part of the question, I think the biggest one that I want them to visit is, of course, the one I forgot the name of from Lost Galaxy, but the one that basically all the characters go to at the end of Lost Galaxy, because I'd love to
Oh
see
yeah.
what it's looking like now that it's been terraformed and everything.
Yeah, that and Aquatar were just my two, but yeah, I'm right there with you. Marcelino Vasquez, what's up, Marcelino? He says, you guys have frequently said that TV shows should have smaller episode counts to avoid filler and help the story flow better. But when does the opposite happen? When do you criticize a show for having too little of an episode count and that it needed an additional 5 to 10 episodes to help the story flow better or to develop the characters, even if it means some would be filler? To give a personal example, I do not like Masters of the Universe Revelation because to me the story was too rushed. So during the moments that we're supposed to care, made it hard to believe due to how rushed everything went and how we didn't get enough time to understand the characters both in and out of the plot. What I would have done is to have every season be 20 episodes, so that way the show can take its time and not try to rush everything all at once. Season one all be all be filler that helps remind old fans and introduces new fans on who the characters are and what their goals are, why they matter, etc., while setting up the main story in the background. Season two would enact upon the story I set it up, ending with He-Man and Skeletor fight from episode one. Season three would be about the time skip, ending with He-Man's revival, and season four would be the later half of part two. I didn't even make any major plot changes. It's still Kevin Smith's same idea, just a different format. So appreciate the example for Masters of the Universe. But yeah, Stuart, when does the opposite happen? When do you criticize a show for having too little of an episode count, and that it needed an additional 5 to 10 episodes help the story flow better?
I always say it depends on the show itself. And I think kind of looking back at The Flash is like an example. I think with the earlier seasons, having 20 episodes helped because it was a show that had a lot of, had a very episodic format when it started. And I think that episodic format worked in the very beginning. But I think looking back on it, it's when the show keeps going and it's like we've already established these characters, who they are, and we already know what their, daily lives are like. I think that's when the filler episodes start to get tiresome, and it kind of feels like not only are you getting tired watching it, but it almost feels like at times that the writers are tired writing these type of episodes, and that's why you get less of them. And as the show goes on, and when you do get them, they seem to get less and less creative as it goes on. But like, I definitely see your point, and I do think there are shows that benefit from more episodes and being able to have fun standalone episodic filler episodes. I just don't think it's always the case, and I think a lot of times now with superhero shows, I think there's, like, with the exception of like Stargirl and Superman and Lois, it always feels like it has to be one way or the other. Like, you can't have a good like middle ground. But I feel like Superman and Lois and Stargirl are kind of like that exception. They found a good middle ground where 13 to 15 episodes gives them enough time to, focus on story driven episodes, but they can also have a couple, like 2 or 3 standalone episodes a season to kind of, just, let the characters have fun and get a little more fleshed out. But yeah, it's overall, good thoughts overall on the idea of filler.
For me, I'm right there with you. I think 13 to 15 episodes is my jam. I think I can settle on that at the least amount, 10. So I think anywhere between that 10 to 15, 13 to 15 range is a perfect number for a series. If I want to look at some shows that I think that I can criticize, look, I love the MCU, but goddamn, y'all got to give me more than that.
Mm-hmm.
These limited 6 episodes, even 9 episodes. I feel like it's maybe even a stretch that we get 9 episodes sometimes, but and you're only giving me 30-minute episodes, if that. Sometimes, like, that's just disrespectful, man. Yeah, like, I was under the impression I was going to be getting not movie length episodes, but like 45 minutes, 50-minute episodes, please, at least. And at least if you're going to do that, 6 episodes of those, and we don't necessarily even get that. And so sometimes I do feel like I've been shortchanged a lot, whether that be from the Disney Plus side of things or other streaming services as of late. But I do think a solid number is 10 to 15, 13 to 15 episodes, especially if you're giving them to me at like a 40-minute mark. You know what I'm saying? 45-minute mark. I'll eat that up all day. So yeah, if I'm going to criticize any show, it's probably the MCU and Disney Plus stuff in general, for how they've been executing that stuff.
I think for me specifically, I would say it kind of became noticeable with Miss Marvel. And I see that because like I really love the world that they created. And I really wish we could have gotten a little bit more of it before, instead of just like kind of what's essentially a movie's length worth of filming basically, but it divided to 30 episode pieces. So I would
Mm.
have preferred a lot more in between, like the beginning and the end.
Yeah, I think Stargirl you mentioned is a great reference. I'll even throw out Black
Mhm.
Lightning. I thought Black Lightning handled it perfectly. It was always digestible. I never felt like an episode was filler. I always felt like there was an aspect of a storyline that was certainly leading to more, and we got a great emphasis on characters during that time. So, yeah, 10 to 15, 13 to 15. But again, you got to come at me with like at least 40 minutes each episode. Outside of that, yeah, I guess it's just like you said. I think it just depends too on what the show and the character that you're trying to work on. Maybe 30 minutes is okay. That half minute, that half hour sitcom kind of style. But if you're gonna do that, yeah, I still need 10 to 15 episodes at least. Um, let's see here. Good old Blossom. Sorry if I repeated this question, but what new themes of Common Rider would you like to see for the next season? Personally, I'd like to see one involving art supplies like crayons. Sure, it's still in the air right now, but if Kara Major was adapted, wouldn't it be cool if Kara May Stones actually had spirits of past warriors of the version of Crystalia? That would be pretty cool, Blossom. I actually would be really big fan of that. But Stuart, is there any new themes of Common Rider that you would like to see
I'm trying
explored
to
for the next
think.
season?
I'm trying to think of what themes they haven't done yet.
Is it the case of like
Ooh,
Super Sentai having done everything already?
yeah. Although I'm not sure if they've done this one. I know like they've definitely had the motif of this in like Common Rider. Shoot, what's it called? The one that got adapted to Common Rider Dragon Knight. But I would like they have the motif. I don't know if it was really necessarily the theme though, but I would love to see kind of like a fantasy-esque type of thing where like every suit in Common Rider is like based on like knights, like basically and dragons and that kind of stuff.
Mhm.
And you Ryuki, that was the name of it. You kind of had that with Ryuki, but I also would love to see the story reflected. So not just the looks of the outfits, but also have a story that either takes place in like a Middle Earth type of fantasy world, or at the very least, the Middle Earth fantasy world plays a big part in that,
Mm.
Common Rider season.
I kind of dig that. I kind of dig that.
Yeah.
Let's see here, and I will go. I'm just jumping around right now. Um, Nicole, what's up, Nicole? Appreciate you coming through with your question. Hey, y'all. Hope you're all doing well. It's a fantastic weekend here so far, Nicole. I heard this theory that Grid Battle Force eventually became SPD. Grid Battle Force was a government-funded organization that explored and used the morphing grid. Past villains were name dropped by Mayor Daniels, like Rita, Galvanax, and Sledge. Just like SPD, you are recruited to be a Power Ranger, and your DNA gets enhanced by genetic powers that are based on the Ranger power you get. Commander Shaw already had a vault in the base of old Ranger gear and weapons. Shows that they know of all past Ranger teams, both highly capable of creating weapons, Zords, Battleizers, and of course, Power Rangers. SPD already knew of a past and could access the Ranger archives and restore the old Ranger powers. The uniforms that Ravi, Roxy, and Blaze wore in the first episode, if Beast Morphers look somewhat similar to what SPD Rangers ended up wearing. What do you think about that theory that Grid Battle Force eventually became SPD?
Uh, for me, I don't really buy that one only because like they did establish that SPD was started in 1999, I believe, or 2001, one of those 2 years.
Mm.
So what I think it is though, I like the idea better that like SPD is in major like collaboration with Grid Battle Force, like the two of them,
Mm.
swap notes with each other, and that's why you saw some SPD tech at Grid Battle Force. That's been my headcanon about the whole thing.
I kind of dig that. I kind of dig that. But nice. I thank you for presenting that theory to us, Nicole. I didn't even know that there was one out there. Ram Jam, certainly coming through. He says, "Hey Adam, hope your week has been going well. What is your take on the Lion King prequel Mufasa?" Disney CEO Bob Chapek says he'd like to own all of Hulu. Keep up the good work. Yeah. I have been hearing Bob Chapek talk a little bit about the idea of maybe acquiring more of Hulu. Disney's already, I think, the owner of Hulu, or at least has a significant percentage of it, but I think they probably want more. They probably want like full ownership of it. And I would be open to that. I think even under Disney management, I think Hulu's been doing some good stuff with some of their series, some of their original movies also. So I wouldn't be opposed to it. But it feels like all these big companies are just swallowing everything, huh, Stuart? Like just heck,
Yeah.
there's even rumors, a talk of we didn't bring this up, but you know, another potential merger for Warner Brothers and NBC in like another 2 years, possibly. Like NBC maybe even buying out Warner Brothers, or maybe it's the other way around. I can't recall, but goddamn, I hope not. I'm so over mergers, and I feel like they're in the process of trying to get their sea legs under them and actually come up with a plan. And is that something that will get thrown away in like another 2 years, and we're gonna have to start this reboot shit all over again? Like I have no idea what's gonna be happening. But whether that be Warner Brothers and NBC merging or Disney acquiring more of Hulu, I'll take the Disney and Hulu merger any day of the week. Maybe not.
Uh,
I can't even say merger. I mean, they already own it, but at least accepting a little bit more of it. But what's your take, Stuart, on Lion King prequel Mufasa?
uh, I guess I'm slightly more looking forward to it than I was the actual Lion King remake. So
Mm,
yeah.
why is that?
Um, just because like with the Lion King remake, it was literally exactly what I knew it was gonna be, and
Mm,
just like kind of a shot for shot recreation. Didn't It never felt like they did anything like creative with that, other than it looks cool because we have photoreal lions. With this, at least it's like a completely original story, so it's like you can kind of go into this not knowing what to expect at all. And then also, I don't know how to say this without sounding mean, but so I'm just gonna say it. James Earl Jones, I love you, but like I really think they should have had. You can tell he's like starting to age with his voice, so it's just like I kind of hope they get like a younger person to play Mufasa in the sequel or in the prequel.
yeah, I do think we're probably gonna get ourselves somebody new. I think they might have announced who was gonna be playing Mufasa or voicing him in their announcement of this series. I could be wrong though, but yeah, I'm actually kind of looking forward to it. One, because it's not Lion King 2. That it is going to be a prequel, so we are going to get the opportunity to explore origin stories, if you will, of the Mufasa character. And the fact that it's an original story, I think for me is what is enticing. I thought the Lion King just visually was stunning to certainly watch, and if we're going to bring that type of visuals to an original story, I think it should be fun. We're in a time period right now where people complain about too many reboots and too many sequels of franchises. And now, even though this is based off of a franchise, the idea of an original script to me is really appealing in this time period, I think, personally.
Yeah.
Let's see here. What else we got? The most talented man alive. I stuck my own balls. He says, in the Disney era, how do you feel that whenever the show would use original footage, they do that to cover up either a very goofy scene from Super Sentai or they're really violent with Dino Fury? Or do you think that perhaps seeing original footage was about them being more creative with the story than just covering up a scene? Um,
Actually,
Go ahead.
Simon Bennett went into a little bit about this recently on Twitter, talking about why there aren't as many civilian fights in a lot of their original fight footage. And apparently, it's just kind of has to do with like when directing story, it's a lot easier to do if there's not civilian fights, because if you have the actors doing civilian fights, it takes up a lot of the filming schedule, meaning they don't have a lot of time to go around to like actually filming them doing any plot related things. And so that's why they ended up a lot of times in shows like Ninja Steel and Beast Morphers. If there were civilian fights, they would rely a lot more on comedic relief, because that was like the only thing they could like they would have time to film in between fight scenes. They wouldn't have time to film, the same actors doing a fight scene one moment and then doing the story driven thing the next moment, which I thought was really fascinating.
It is, yeah, it is fascinating to me, but there's a part of me that just wonders, like, I don't know. I guess when I hear that, I'm just like, oh, while it's fascinating to me, I think it's kind of little bit of a shame that they can't do more civilian fights. For me, it's just odd that, yeah, I know you want to focus on the plot and the characters and the storyline, but there's not like a moment where you can have one of the actors offset to do its like film with the second unit to do their fight sequences while focusing on other characters and having a different directing team film the storyline aspects, and then maybe just doing some editing work and taking those individual solo moments of each individual person fighting and edit them together. You know what I'm saying?
Mhm.
So you get the solo moments, and then you really just have to focus maybe on like one or two big sort of civilian shots in general. So I don't know. It feels kind of weird to me, but I appreciate him at least explaining it that way.
Yeah. Or let me put it this way: it makes me less annoyed with the writers when it happens that way, and makes me kind of realize, okay, no, this is definitely more of a production thing. It's not because the writers are trying to be lazy, or it's not because they're like not caring. You know what I mean? So that's what kind of fascinated me about the whole thing. But yeah, with the Disney era using original footage, because it was too violent. I also heard that too with the Disney era when I was watching History of Power Rangers with Linkara.
Really?
Like the reason a lot of the explosions would come from behind, it was supposedly like a Disney mandate that they didn't want to see like Power Rangers actually shooting enemies directly too often. They wanted that to be done sparingly, and so that's why you had a lot of times the Rangers looked like they were terrible aims, and that's why the explosions would happen behind the enemies instead of in front of them.
Yeah, I didn't realize that when it comes to the Disney era, or he even says to cover up either a very goofy scene or from Super Sentai, or that they're really violent. Maybe the violent aspect of things. I mean, like, maybe the Disney era is vastly different from what we have now in regards to how they handle footage. So, like, when I think of Hasbro's era right now, I don't know if that's one of the reasons why they utilize original footage. Like for me, I think that they utilize it more for a creative standpoint in regards to making more original creative content for Power Rangers going forward. But I'm sure that there's probably some examples of, I don't know if it's too goofy or too violent, but maybe cases of, look, there's some Japanese lettering in here, some ads, some stuff that we have to like hide or we can't necessarily show, and so maybe they make original content based off of that. But I don't know. I just always assumed it was for more of a creative storyline standpoint, at least in this era. But I could be wrong. John Schuyler also says, remember in Power Rangers Beast Morphers when one of the issues that was a huge missed opportunity was Human Blaze and Roxy's minds weren't under the influence of their evil avatar consciousness when Avatar Roxy plugged in a USB drive to the stasis pods of Human Blaze and Roxy at the end of season 1 so they can go undercover as their human counterparts and watch over the Rangers. Well, we technically got that episode in reverse when the episode Crunch Time, which was 2 episodes before the series finale, when Robo Blaze disguised himself as Human Blaze when he was in Japan for a martial arts tournament. That was actually a really cool episode, though. It was unfortunate that Evil Blaze had to reveal himself to the audience instead of near the end of the episode. I almost forgot that episode, Stuart.
Mhm.
You remember that
Uh,
episode?
Yeah, I remember the episode itself because I remember being slightly disappointed with the ending because I actually thought like this was the side of Blaze that I had been wanting to see
Mm.
for a while, and I actually thought Power Rangers was about to get really mature with the idea of results doesn't necessarily mean it's the right thing to do. Like you could get results faster, but you have to break your moral boundaries. And I'm like, ooh, that's deep for a kid. And then at the end when it was revealed to be Robo Blaze, it's like, oh no, he was evil the whole time. Oh, okay. Here I thought they were going to get a little more deep with Power Rangers, but I guess that's asking a little too much. But yeah, I do kind of agree. Like that was one of the missing opportunities I felt like they had with Beast Morphers. I kind of wish they did either had Human Blaze and Human Roxy being like taken over by their avatars so they could be there like in disguise, or as an antagonist that they can't kill because obviously they're in the bodies of people that are their friends. So something like that would have been really cool. And then, or even just having them there as their characters more often instead of totally just like, pretending like, or instead of just like completely writing them out of the show until it's convenient. You know what I mean?
Yeah, no, I totally
Yeah.
agree with you. I mean, that's definitely the route I would have gone. But you're right too. Like, even if they didn't go that route of having Human Blaze and Roxy with the consciousnesses of their evil avatars, the idea of just having them more involved in this season for the second
Yeah,
season would have gone a really, really long way. I think, and I think
exactly.
that's where the disappointment comes. Let's see here. Gabriel Glasgow, let's see here. He says, with the final season of The Flash starting production yesterday, as I write this, list 5 characters you'd like to see return, even if they were killed or brought back in a dream or time travel sequence. Would you like to see Stephen Amell and Melissa Benoist return, considering they were 2 of the OG Arrowverse series? Yes, I would, Gabriel.
Oh man. Okay, I'm gonna try to say besides the Justice League, because basically anyone that was in the Justice League, those are the characters I want to see returning. So I guess the first character I would love to see return, of course, has to be Cisco, and then
Absolutely.
of course I really want to see Diggle come back. Would
Okay.
love to see Eddie Thawne come back as like Cobalt Blue, which is something that a lot of the fans are theorizing
Mm,
with this final season. And then okay, I said Diggle. Oh, and then also Ryan Choi, because like they kind of set him
oh,
up to be the Atom later on, so I would love to see them kind of follow through on that. And I guess as for a fifth character,
can I throw one in?
maybe, huh?
Well, what were you gonna say?
Oh, I was gonna say Hunter Zolomon probably.
Oh,
Who would your five be?
well, I did like the Ryan Choi call. I was even gonna put out Captain Cold.
Ooh,
Um,
yes,
I would
yes.
like that actor to come back to go ahead and reprise his role at least one more time. I don't know what his relationship is like, but I mean, after he came back quite a few times. So
Yeah.
I'm hoping that he would also. But I do like your choices, and I definitely probably would even. Cisco was another one for me. Ryan Choi, Cisco, and Captain Cold were at least 3 that I had off the top of my head. And then yeah, give me Stephen Amell and Melissa Benoist. I'll take those. Yeah, I'll take those. Why not?
For sure.
Let's see here. What else we got? Adrian Perez. Hope you're all doing well and happy Friday. Um, he says, with the final 11 episodes of season 2 of Dino Fury approaching, how excited and pumped are you? And what do you hope to see when the show returns and comes out swinging with a bang? How do you feel about Dino Fury as a whole being a huge hit with not only longtime fans, but new fans across the world, thanks to the show being on Netflix? Love that many international fans are also enjoying the show as much as we do. Yeah, it does feel like a resurgence for Power Rangers here with Dino Fury. Now that more people are getting the opportunity to watch, it's always great when you get to bring in fans that might have left and are back because of how well the show is certainly doing. So that's always really inspiring, and I think that means that they've got some good management on board, especially at least with Simon Bennett and the writers doing some incredible things. So yeah, I'm really pumped that Dino Fury is bringing in new and bringing back old lifelong fans. But Stuart, how pumped are you and excited for Dino Fury season 2 quickly approaching September? Was it 29th?
Yep.
It's going to be here before we know it, guys.
Oh, 11 days from now.
Oh my
Yeah,
god.
I'm really excited.
Oh my god.
I've been really digging. I really dug Dino Fury season 1, and then I think like for the most part, I've really enjoyed the first half of season 2. But man, I got to see where it's all leading to, and the guys from the Illuminati, I guess they've gotten to see it, and they're really hyping me up on this, saying that it's like their favorite season. I think I know that Joe from the Illuminati specifically said it's his favorite season, so I am super hyped.
Um, so I've been really great about avoiding international spoilers
Mhm.
until last week.
Oh no! Did you hear a spoiler?
I got a spoiler got me. A spoiler got me. I had searched to see what was trending, and somehow Dino Fury spoilers was trending. And there was a part of me that said, Adam, just click this button. There's no way that a spoiler on the first page alone. I was like, let me just tease myself. You know what I'm saying? I was
Mhm.
like, so if I click the hashtag and I'm just thinking to myself, there's no way there's anything revealing in like the most recent posts. There's no way. I'll see like 2 or 3 Twitter posts and that'll be it, and I'll jump right off, right? No, it's a photo. It's a photo. I got
All
I got
right.
revealed. We'll talk a little bit more about it
Yeah.
after the show, as to what I got revealed to. So I have had one thing at least spoiled for me. But I will say what I saw, I was like, "Ee!" Like I was really pumped about it. So we'll see how it's executed and it works. But for me, listen, I love these characters. I think Simon Bennett and the writer team have done a fantastic job of just navigating, I should say, the character growth, the impact of the stories, and you can just kind of feel the momentum just truly building towards a fantastic finale. And I think it's something ripped right out of what they did with the second half of Beast Morphers, where I think it's going to be just each episode very nicely building into the next without necessarily being a part 2 or a to be continued. And I think it's just going to conclude in a marvelous sort of way. So I'm hyped for it. I do think that they are going to hit us with things that we never expected. Some things that we probably should have said, man, I should have seen that coming a lot, like a mile away, and just forgot about a character or forgot about something from like the Super Sentai series. I think they're going to have some fun, and I do think they're going to blow us away leading into Cosmic Fury. So I'm pumped, man. I'm honestly pumped. And just so you know, I did also, you know, me and I'm trying to remember what video I did. I did do a recent Cosmic Fury video maybe a couple weeks or a month or so ago, talking about it. And you know, Simon Bennett liked our story on our Instagram page, and I think he even reposted it on his story as well. And so it opened up a conversation or an opportunity. So I talked to Simon and Mr. Bennett, I should say, and I asked him how I would go about trying to set up an interview. So he told me to reach out to the Hasbro PR team. I sent out an email. I got an auto reply email back, so I know that they have gotten my email. I am just waiting to see whether or not I will be able to score a Simon Bennett interview. So things are in the works. I have put out an email. Keep your fingers crossed that I land it, because I've always been wanting to have the opportunity to sit down with Simon Bennett for a while and talk to him. But I'm pumped for what he's created. I really am. Let's see here. Robert Buena. What's up, Robert? He says, what were some of your favorite Sixth Rangers outside of Tommy? He says for him, Antonio was his second best, right behind Ion in Dino Fury. I love that Antonio was a fisherman who often said random Spanish, which was pretty funny, even when he was in his ranger suit. Yeah, it's like that Spanglish, if you will. He says, I like that he and Jaden were friends since childhood, which was a cool way to have them on the show as best friends. His Zord, which was very much a giant squid, was pretty cool. I thought it was a barracuda. I thought he had a barracudas, but maybe I'm wrong. His morpher being his own, which was texting based, was unique, and his morph call Samurai Morpher Full Power. His suit was so shiny when he debuted as the Gold Ranger in Unexpected Arrival. His only issue I had with Antonio was that he wasn't introduced earlier when Kevin met with a random fisherman who just disappeared after a short conversation. That would have been a cool build up and a connection for Kevin and Antonio if they encountered each other. So, yes, do you have any favorite Sixth Rangers outside of Tommy?
Ooh, that's a long, long question. I don't know if these two would count, but I'd say my two favorite, because they're also technically mentors as well. But Doggy Kruger, and then shoot, what's his name? RJ, I think. The
RJ.
Purple Ranger from Jungle Fury. Probably would be my favorites. But if those don't count because they're mentors, then I guess.
I see what you're saying.
Yeah.
RJ, he was like the fourth Ranger, huh? But I guess he was meant to be like a sixth Ranger.
Yeah. Although I guess technically they had another Ranger.
Yeah, they did have another Ranger after that too. Yeah.
Yeah. Actually, you know what? Let me go with
go ahead.
I forgot his name, but oh god, the Sixth Ranger in Mystic Force also would probably be another one I really like.
Oh, nice call. I've always been a big fan of Eric from Time Force, the Quantum Ranger.
Yes.
Something about his badassery just had me just really captured my attention. Um, and I look, I've Jason as Zeo Gold. I've always been a big fan of that fucking costume, and to see him come back in like biker Jason mode, like all of a sudden, like he was just swole and just much cooler dude than when I saw him in MMPR. And I was just so glad that he was back. So those are some of my favorite Sixth Rangers. There are a couple other ones too that I probably should think about, but yeah, those are the two that jumped to my mind immediately.
I'll say this: Jason had the coolest reveal, though, when it came to
Oh
being the
yeah.
Sixth Ranger. Like the way his face was covered, and when it finally got like revealed, it's like at that point there was nothing to hint that he was going to be the Sixth Ranger. So all you're theorizing, oh, it's probably going to be Billy, right? That would make the most sense, or it's going to be the guys who were already the Gold Ranger. Maybe it'll be them again, and it's just they lied about leaving, but nope, Jason.
Good
That
old
was
Jason.
that was freaking cool.
Yeah, it was pretty cool. Marcelino does correct me. He says, no, Adam, Barracuda was the name of his attacks. Well, if his name is the Barracuda attacks, just give him the damn Barracuda Zord. But I get it. I appreciate the clarification, Marcelino. Thank you. It's been a minute since I went ahead and checked out Samurai myself. Let's see here. What else we got? Abase. What's up, Abase? You guys remember Bat in the Sun fan film projects with JDF like White Ranger versus Scorpion and Green Ranger versus Rio? I actually really like those. In Bat if Bat in the Sun were to continue doing those videos in the future, or even if someone were to take inspiration and do a series in comic book form, what team of Rangers you'd like to see be involved, and what villains from Power Rangers and any other superhero genre would you like to see them face off with? So if we had to put a Bat in the Sun fight film together with a team of Rangers, who would you like to see the team of Rangers be, and what villains would make up that team, or any other superhero team you would like to see them face off against?
Man, see, if it was Bat in the Sun, if I had to choose a team of Rangers, I wouldn't want it to be one team. I would want it to be like a character from different teams, like basically. So, like, get the Red Ranger from one team, Green Ranger for another, etc. And then, same exact thing with villains, either a villain from each of those seasons or a villain from just different comic book franchises altogether. Because I would love to see, like, Power Rangers taking on other, like, kind of villains from other properties.
Okay, so here we go.
The Rangers taking on Thanos, that'd be cool.
Oh, that would be pretty cool. Give me an all-female team of Rangers, and I'll even go all pink Ranger team. I'll do a forever pink combination here. You guys can pick whatever pink Rangers, female Rangers that you would like, but I would go an all-female Power Ranger team, an assortment of pink Rangers, and then while I don't believe that there is a while I don't believe that there is a female superhero group out there, I would probably put together a DC female villain team to go ahead and face our female pink Power Rangers. So I probably would, even though Harley Quinn isn't necessarily a villain these days, I feel like she's like that anti-hero. Definitely give me like a Harley Quinn and Poison Ivy led female team. I might even put Killer Frost in there. There could be a couple. What's the new Joker Punchline? I might put her on the team, and maybe one other female villain. Blackfire. Give me Blackfire from Titans. So it'll be Harley Quinn, Poison Ivy, Killer Frost, Punchline, and Blackfire against an assorted team of Pink Ranger female. So maybe like Jen, Cassie, Kimberly. Give me other pinks. Give me Amelia, and maybe one other one. Whoever you want to throw in there, Stuart. That would be my Bat in the Sun team, though. That would be
nice.
My Bat in the Sun team. Let's see here. Dino Knights, fight for your rights. I still absolutely love that Dino Fury as a whole has been building to the overall lore of Power Rangers. While some fans will argue that it's just fan service, it is fan service done really, really well. Not only does the show bring back elements from past seasons for longtime fans, even allows newer and younger fans to be curious and learn about more about the past and even what to watch. Make them want to watch old seasons. Not only that, this allows the writers to be more creative with storytelling and allow things that were never discussed in older seasons to be focused on, like the Morphine Masters. I also love that by connecting to the past, this makes the show more exciting and unique to watch instead of just making the show as a standalone series that only focuses on the main story. Even episodes that some might find as filler allows old references and concepts to be worked around. I would agree with Dino Knights here in the sense that not only are they doing an incredible job of just lore building for Power Rangers, but while some people may argue the idea of, oh, this is it's just fan service, I do agree. I think it's been fan service that's done really, really well in an attempt to help move the story forward. But maybe that's just me. How have you felt about it, Stuart? You think it's too much or what?
No, I think the way both Dino Fury and Beast Morphers, the way they have
Yeah.
handled the fan service has been absolutely perfect. It never feels like they're just doing it for the fans. It feels like they're doing it to help build the lore of their current season as well. Like, I feel like Beast Morphers, if we didn't have the background of Grid Battle Force having worked with previous Ranger Tech, and then we just went to the season finale where it was Vengeance, that would have been terrible. You know, I mean, it would have been kind of cool, but it would have been like this came out of nowhere type of thing.
We might have gotten
So
that for past seasons of Power Rangers, you
yeah,
know?
yeah, exactly. And then kind of like with Dino Fury, if we didn't have this like, you know, connection with other seasons, I feel like Lord Zed coming back would also feel like it came out of left field.
Yeah, and the addition of the Morphing Masters too, I think just help
Yeah.
establish that even more. So yeah, I totally agree with that sentiment, Dino Knight. Power Rangers Legacy. Wild Wild West Rangers makes no sense. Is it just me or the Wild Wild West episode of MMPR was cool but confusing? It was cool for me. I get the idea of confusion though. While I really like that Kimberly was the only one who was transported to the past and had to get help with by past Rangers of Zordon and Alpha, but Kimberly meeting ancestors of her friends really made no sense because they were played by the same actors. I get it. This meant that Rocky, Adam, Aisha were always meant to become Power Rangers after Jason, Zach, and Trini left. I do want to give credit to Zordon and Alpha still having the 5 original power coins, while Rita still had the green coin. Was continuity. Yeah, it is always too on the nose when it's like your ancestors look exactly like you. Like it reminds me of the Marty McFly effect from like Back to the Future. Even when he goes back to the Wild Wild West, like his great 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 grandparent like was Michael J. Fox just with makeup on. So I definitely get that vibe. It always is pretty funny. But he says the problem with the episode really was the ancestors looking exactly like the Rangers. Even Kimberly's ancestor, who was shown at the end of the episode, was her direct ancestor. I really wish that they used different actors as the Rangers' ancestors to be more believable, but we can all blame Saban for being cheap and lazy for not hiring temporary actors. Plus, this episode, along with the majority of season 2, was filmed in Australia during the filming of the MMPR movie. And look, I think maybe if it was like a grown adult movie, maybe I would expect them to do that. But then again, I just said that for Back to the Future, and look what they did with Marty McFly. But I do think it being a kids show, I think they figured it wouldn't hurt nobody. You know, I think kids would understand. Like, I don't know if they would figure kids would understand, but I think it's just an easy premise for kids to understand that your ancestors might have looked like you as younger kids. But I mean, I get the confusion. But what do you say to that, though, Stuart? Like,
I would say there are many things in that episode that make no sense. The actors look, you know, the ancestors being played by the same actors is the least of it. I say the fact that there's a juice bar in the Old West is a little bit weird. I'd say, you know, I like the idea of everyone getting along in the Old West, but that's not realistic. You know, a diverse group of friends in the Old West doesn't exactly make sense. But you know, let's focus on the actor part.
yeah, that's so many truths were spoken in that sentence, Stuart. I mean, made a good point. Yeah, I don't know how well Aisha would have done in the Wild Wild West, or even the idea of Kimberly having her as a friend. So yeah,
That said, though, that episode does still have one of my favorite lines in all of Power Rangers. Too much peak energy is dangerous.
There's not enough pink energy, Zordon. Not enough pink energy. It even seeing Tommy being like the White Rider. Was that his name, right? The White Rider, I
Something
think.
like that. Yeah,
Along
like
those
it was
lines.
a parody on the Lone Ranger, I think.
Yeah, maybe it was the White Ranger. I don't know. Maybe it was a White Lone Ranger. I have no idea. I can't remember. It's been so long, but yeah, that's definitely. I mean, even the even the boots and the tassels on the. I mean, yeah, they definitely went above and beyond. Where's that Lightning Collection set? Huh? Come on, Hasbro. I'm
I
waiting on
did.
it.
I do love though that he's wearing like all white, but his hat has a green stripe on it. That was
That
kind of cool.
that was pretty cool. I did like the Tommy stuff. The White Stranger is what they call them. Thank you, Dino Knight, for clarifying that. Oh my god. Yeah, they got away with so much crazy, cringy shit back then, but it worked. It worked.
Oh yeah.
Good old Jack Daniels. What's up, Jack? Because it's 5 o'clock somewhere, guys. What do you think of the announcement of Sony Pictures releasing the new Karate Kid movie? And do you think it's cool or unnecessary, especially if we were to be another reboot, since the Jackie Chan and Jaden Smith film was actually well received? Plus, with your distaste for Sony movies, do you think Sony can deliver if done right? Look, my distaste, I don't even want to say, is it a distaste, Stuart? Maybe it is. Maybe it's just a
It's a lack of
hesitancy.
trust.
Yeah,
Hesitancy.
yeah,
Yeah, actually,
yeah.
that's perfect. Yeah.
It's just a hesitancy with Sony Pictures because there are some Sony Pictures that I enjoyed. Like, I'll even give Uncharted some credit. Like, I went into that movie really with low expectations and not expecting anything, and it was a decently solid adventure film. It was a passable film to me. And I think that's the issue that I tend to have with Sony is that, like, with the exception of like the Into the Spider-Verse stuff, like I never go into a Sony movie expecting a masterpiece or a really incredibly well done movie. And I feel like maybe this has happened to me since Venom. I felt like it's kind of put me on the radar of paying attention to Sony a little bit more. I don't know if I felt that way about Sony prior to my experience with Venom, but anytime Sony announces a movie, there is a level of hesitancy that I certainly have in regards to why are we making this movie? Do you have a really solid plan? Who's going to be writing the script? These are all three questions and things I worry about, but I'm always going to give them a chance, but I definitely am always hesitant going into a Sony movie. And honestly, that does carry over with the announcement of a new Karate Kid movie because, like we said at the top, it does scratch my head that you have so much momentum behind Cobra Kai and just that Karate Kid franchise from the original Daniel LaRusso storyline that they've managed to keep it relevant after such a long time. Why do we need a reboot? If anything, I would say just grow off of what you have already established in that world, unless you are going to do a sequel to the Jaden Smith stuff, which I would be open to. I would still be open to that. But the idea of going back to the original Karate Kid franchise, uh, are we really rebooting this again with the new Daniel LaRusso? Or are we just creating a brand new character and throwing them into the franchise that has been building? But if that is going to be the case, why not just build it up off of Cobra Kai? Like, it just doesn't
Yeah.
make any sense to me. So again, I am questioning the reasoning behind this. I know it's been years since we've got the original Karate Kid, but again, it's still very poignant in today's society. People are still aware of it. Whereas, like, and again, we just had a reboot 12 years ago. Maybe if there was like 20 years separated from the Jaden Smith stuff, 25 years, maybe I would be okay with it. But the Karate Kid franchise is doing just fine right now. I'm confused by it personally. Will I see it? Yes, because I love Karate Kid, but I'm confused by it. What about you, Stuart? Just to kind of give your overall thoughts one more time.
Yeah, I'm in agreement with you. I'm just confused by it right now. And I'll have more thoughts once they give us like a plot synopsis or a director or something like that. But for now, I have no idea what to expect.
Yeah, I really don't either. Um, Good old Doomsday. What's up, Doomsday? It's always good to hear from you, man. Do you think Operation Overdrive and SPD had something very unique to them, such as Operation Overdrive inserting a bit of rapping in the theme song, and SPD using comic-like strips as a way of transitioning between scenes? I always appreciated the transition for SPD. I always kind of, yeah, it really grew on me. I was actually a big fan of that.
Yeah, I like the editing in SPD with the comic strips. Was not a fan of, I mean, I guess technically I can't disagree with you that it was unique, but I was not a fan of the rapping in Overdrive.
I might have to listen to the. Do you remember off the top of your head, Stuart, the theme?
The theme song, yeah, and it was not good.
Can you rap it for us?
I'd really rather not.
Where's Indy? Where's Indy when you need him? Like, yo, Indy, can you rap this Operation Overdrive theme for us? Yeah, I think Operation Overdrive was the season I literally like went through one time and I was like, I'm done, and I just went on to the next one. So it's a lot I don't recall from that season, unfortunately. Kurt Marino. Which season premiere of Power Rangers did you like more, Beast Morphers or Dino Fury? And since we haven't yet reached the second half of Dino Fury, do you think the finale of Dino Fury will be incredible? And what are your hopes and predictions for the finale? So which premiere did you like more, Beast Morphers or Dino Fury?
I gotta go with Beast Morphers only because of that like incredible fight scene at the very end. I think I mentioned this when we were reviewing Dino Fury episode 1 together, and as much as I like the fight scene in Dino Fury, it felt like the actors had a lot less room to maneuver, and so it felt a lot more like kind of it felt like they had less freedom to have a lot of fun. But like Beast Morphers, that fight scene, it was just like they had like a whole warehouse to have a lot of fun with the fight, and it felt like they took advantage of every prop like in the building. And yeah, it was just something so incredible. Plus that opening fight scene too, like we had 2 fight scenes in the episode, and both fight scenes were really incredible. The one with Devin and Blaze.
Oh, that's right. At the dojo
Yeah.
or the juice bar at the gym. Yeah. I was gonna say Beast Morphers already. But you mentioning the fight between Devin and Blaze at the beginning, um, even put it over the top even more for me. So yeah, I'll go Beast Morphers premiere. That's what I probably enjoyed the most. We've kind of already talked a little bit about the second half of Dino Fury and some of the things we kind of want to see. And predictions for the finale. Like, I'm still waiting to see how they're going to incorporate Real Soul Brown, or the Bronze Knight or Brown Knight, however they want to refer to him as. I do think that there will be a place. I'm hoping it's Mick. I don't know if it's going to be somebody else though, or if it's like Void King in like a new form. I'm keeping my fingers crossed that in some way or another, I still want a Tyramigo in here somewhere, if that's even all possible. And I'm really eager to see what they do with this Excalibur sword also. Yeah, I just want to see how they handle the power up and really the Amelia stuff. I got to find out more about Amelia. But yeah, I don't really have too many high expectations. I just really want to see how it wraps up.
Yeah. And yeah, I'm thinking it's going to be a pretty good finale.
Carter Matthews, what do you think of the Men in Black movie franchise, and which of the original Will Smith and Tommy Lee Jones trilogy was your most and least favorite installment? The first one is still my favorite, and I think the last one between them is my least favorite. But I enjoyed the franchise as a whole. I thought they had a great chemistry on screen, Will Smith and Tommy Lee Jones. Men in Black 1 is one that I can continually go back to watch, especially if it's on. The other one's a little bit harder of replay ability for me, but the first one was always a fantastic one. I haven't checked out the most recent one with was it Tessa Thompson and Chris Hemsworth?
You don't need to watch it.
It was that bad?
Okay, so before I saw the movie, my thoughts from the trailer, I'm like, see, this is what 2016 Ghostbusters should have done. And then when I went to go see the movie, I'm like, wow, 2016 Ghostbusters is not as bad as I remember.
Wow. You think it was better than the Men in Black one?
Yes. I
Wow.
think 2016 Ghostbusters was a lot better than Men in Black International.
Wow. Okay. I have not seen that installment though. So, yeah, maybe I won't now. Maybe I won't. But what did you think about the Men in Black franchise as a whole?
Oh my gosh, I love those movies. I'd say first one's my favorite, second one's my least favorite.
Oh, okay.
But that said, I still love all three of them. I got to tell you about the line that I used to quote, or actually, there were two lines that I used to quote all the time as a kid. One from the first movie, one from the second one. The one from the first movie I used to love saying all the time is, "Hey, you know what the difference is between you and me? I make this look good." Like whether it was glasses or
I'm
something,
about
I
to say,
would
did you always put
always
on? Yeah, did you put on sunglasses when you would say it?
it would always depend. If I ever saw that I was seeing if someone was wearing the same thing as me, that's the line I would always go to. The other one, I would use this on my dad so much, and it was freaking hilarious. But the scene where they're going into the car and Tommy Lee Jones is like, "I used to drive all the time. I remember that." And then Will Smith was like, "No, what you remember is you used to drive the old busted vehicle. I drive the new hotness, old and busted." New
Too
hotness. I would do
hotness.
that to my dad. I'd be like, old and busted, new hotness.
That's some great stuff, Stuart. That's some great stuff. I'm glad you remember those lines, man.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, I'm glad you liked it. I've been a big fan of the Men in Black franchise. This actually makes me want to go back and rewatch the first one now. It's been a minute. But thank you for that question, Carter. I appreciate it, man. Let's see here. Stuart, another Stuart, with Dino Fury cast headed back to New Zealand to film Cosmic Fury. Do you think perhaps the second unit action team have already filmed some fight scenes with the Ranger suits? Still a big question. Either it's Super Sentai or all new original designs. Would you like it if by having the stunt team already film fight scenes as we speak, this would make Cosmic Fury perhaps less episodes or even longer? I still remember the social media page of Alpha Stunt Team announcing that they were starting to film very soon, which was a week or two ago, instead of waiting until Dino Fury cast returned to New Zealand in order to start production. I would assume, Stuart, that they've started production already, at least maybe some of the second unit. The cast hasn't even seen their suits, or at least that's what they're saying. They haven't even tried them on. But it would not surprise me if the second unit is already there filming some maybe potential fight sequences. But I do wonder if that's something that they even need Simon Bennett and the cast around for. But in regards to this would make Cosmic Fury perhaps less episodes or even longer. No, I'm under the assumption that we will still get a 22 episode season. So I do think that we will get ourselves a full season, but it wouldn't surprise me if the stunt team has begun work. And I just say that because when Alpha Stunt Team did make their announcement, there were even leaks of the morphine sequence kind of taking place, So I do wonder if behind the scenes they have been putting all of that stuff together. What do you think? Do you think they've begun filming?
I think it's a big possibility. It would make a lot of sense to want to get like at least a week or two head start if you can. But the only thing that makes me think maybe not is because usually the moment there's like a second unit directing going on with filming, there's usually at least one or two people that are able to spot them, and we get set photos from that. And since we haven't yet, probably not, but it is a possibility.
I get you. Quick side note, Dino Knight says, did you guys read mine? I was washing dishes. Yes, we did read yours. I think we maybe like 2 questions ago.
You don't watch our videos while washing dishes? I
Washing
do that
dishes,
all the
yeah,
time.
we should be in the background all the time, Dino Knights.
I'm
But yeah,
just
no, we
saying,
do
like for
read
me,
that.
like I love doing that. If I'm doing like chores or
Chores around the
some
house.
sort, doing a
Yeah.
podcast while doing that, it's like perfect,
Yeah, totally. Adam Perea says, why is it that Netflix keeps announcing premiere and return dates of their shows and movies, where Power Rangers, both Neo Saban era and now Hasbro era, we can't even get an actual release date before the hiatus? Heck, the HBO or the CW HBO Max Superman and Lois series even got a release date during season 1 when production took a few months hiatus when someone in the crew caught COVID. I really don't understand why Power Rangers can't have a release date before it goes into a hiatus. We don't need a convention just to get a release date. It's very frustrating. Why do you think that is?
I have no idea. I'm just gonna blame Nickelodeon on that stuff and assume that that is all their fault because I don't know. Yeah, I think because Nickelodeon doesn't know how many people are interested in Power Rangers, so they don't bother. Or maybe because they're doing the schedule last minute, so they themselves don't know when it's going to be coming back.
Yeah, I don't know why. I don't know why. I will say this in regards to release dates for Netflix. I do think Netflix in general makes you usually wait for a release date. Um, I think maybe like second trailer of something, they might actually give you a release date. There are times I've seen the trailers for a Netflix show and it says coming in whatever year. And then the second trailer might actually give us maybe more of the month that it's in. And then maybe final trailer will give us the exact release date. I don't know if that's how they plan on working it out when it comes to Power Rangers, but they also have a plethora of content on Netflix. And I do wonder if they try and try and release shows or movies at appropriate times that they feel is like best for the show. And I think maybe sometimes when you're juggling so much content at Netflix, it's hard to maybe come up with an exact release date as to when you want to drop something. But again, I don't really know. I don't really know.
Mhm.
It's a good question though. Michael Rhymes. With the recent announcement of Keanu Reeves returning for a sequel, what did you think of the Constantine film? I've always been a fan of this film. I know it was pretty hated when it came out because of all the differences from the comic book versions of the character. I'm a big fan of the comics, and even though the film version of John Constantine was different from the comic version at the time, it still really enjoyed the film. It just took it as a different interpretation of the character in the world. I can understand why they didn't enjoy it as much, but I did, to be honest. I'm kind of in the same realm as you, Michael. Like, while I know it definitely took its liberties, I wasn't a big DC or Constantine fan like that, at least at the time. Like, Constantine wasn't a character I was super familiar with, so it never really rubbed me the wrong way that they tackled this character the way that they certainly did. And while I don't think it's a perfect film, I do think it certainly has its issues. There were certainly a lot of aspects of the movie that I came to enjoy. So it's something I certainly would love to see again, honestly. He says, I thought that the cast was great. Really love the performances from the actors. I'm trying to remember. He said, I do wish that they kept Michelle Monaghan's scenes in the film, but I understand why they kept them out. I thought that quite a couple scenes were really creepy, like the scene where the scavenger is walking down the road with a spear of destiny in hand, and everything else dying around him. I Yeah, the acting was pretty good. I actually thought they had a relatively strong cast in there as well. So I'm with you. I don't think it was a perfect film, but it's one that I certainly enjoy, and so I'm probably gonna go back and check it out. Probably gonna check it out
I'm
here.
definitely gonna be watching it at some point this week because I gotta know like if I should be hyped for a sequel or not.
Yeah, I would definitely recommend it. Carlo Bernardo says for the second half of Dino Fury season 2 with Scroz. Oh, well, that might have been a spoiler, but this might be spoilerish. I guess I don't know
Wait,
if they've have they. I don't think. Yeah, I think this might be spoilerish. I don't think they've announced
oh,
anything.
they haven't announced it, but there have been like a lot of photos and promotional stuff I've seen on Twitter that show it.
To show it. Okay.
So for me,
Um,
I kind of knew he was returning.
Okay, so minor spoiler for some people, maybe if you're not aware, but for the second, Carlo asks for the second half of Dino Fury season 2 with Skrull returning. How do you think he finds his way to avoid Queen and the Dino Fury Rangers? And do you think he will finally die this time or survive? Perhaps segue to Cosmic Fury. Oh God, I hope he dies. I hope he dies. Skrowsel's been on the run for such a long time. Well, he actually was captured by Grid Battle Force in the finale for Beast Morpher. So one of the theories, when I was on the Illuminati episode, I think one of the theories that Dan from the fan club, the YouTube channel, the fan club, he always has some great Power Ranger theories. He always, one of his theories was the idea of Lord Zed breaking into Grid Battle Force to get his staff back. And in the process of doing so, that he breaks Skrull free. And I love that idea. I personally love that idea, and I hope it comes to fruition. I even added to Dan's theory, and I was like, and wouldn't it be cool if we got ourselves like a as Lord Zed's infiltrating the grid battle force, they set it up like the Daredevil staircase scene or the hallway scene, where it's just a long one shot unedited of like Lord Zed just mowing these grid battle force guards down as he tries to get to his staff and save Scrozzle or rescue him and break him out. I would love for it to play out that way. Whether or not we get that unedited shot or not, but I wouldn't mind the idea of Lord Zed breaking him free. So I think that's how he gets into the picture here.
I'm pretty sure that's going to be how it happens. Is that
Oh, you think so?
yeah, he's getting his staff back, and in doing so, like maybe he stumbles upon Scrozzle, who's
And
like,
Scrozzle,
"I
help
know
me.
where your staff is. Free
Help
me, and I'll
me,
take you
help
to it."
Yeah. Help
You know,
me.
yeah, I could see it going down like that. One thing that you could also add, going to your idea, because I love that idea, like kind of, especially if they wanted to make it creepy, like give it a dark hallway, you know, make him Zed Vader, and you know all the grid battle force agents, like the rebel forces trying to stop Vader and having it just not go well for them. But like another thing they could do is because they couldn't get the actors, you know, to go over to New Zealand, but they could possibly get their voices. If we get the Beast Morphers trying to fight Zed, but then immediately getting taken down, because you wouldn't even need the actors. You could just have them in suit fighting Zed. Probably won't happen because I feel like we would have had an announcement about it if it were, but that would be pretty cool.
Boy, I love that idea too, man. I love that idea too. Maybe that's what forms a crossover. Maybe we get maybe that's what forms the potential. Maybe Beast Morphers Dino Fury crossover. I hope we get something along those lines. That'd be great.
Oh
That'd
yeah.
be great. Jericho passing the torch of, oh, this is so long, Jericho. Sometimes I feel like the passing of the torch arc with the Zeo and the new Turbo Rangers should have been the plot for Turbo, a Power Ranger movie, instead of what we actually got. Interesting. He said, I actually like the Turbo movie. However, I'm disappointed that so much of it got cut out. The cast said many times at the conventions about how the Turbo movie was meant to be, to have so much more in it. There was supposed to be a scene where Tanya and Adam morph into their Zeo suits, but they get wrecked by monsters, and that's how they lose their Zeo powers. We even saw a scene in the movie where Kat briefly morphed into Zeo Pink while falling into the ocean, and Tommy jumps down to save her. So how the Zeo powers were not to survive. There was some sort of campfire scene. There was a flamethrower scene, a diving scene, a scene where Kimberly and Jason actually go into the power chamber. And according to Nakia Burris, there was an amazing fight scene that were all cut out. I don't think what we got was bad, but I think they dropped the ball in the movie by not including all of that stuff. I didn't realize that. Did you?
No, but I think I know why, if I had to guess. I think they were trying to make it, even though this one was meant to be connected to the show, they also, because it was released in theaters, probably wanted like casual audiences to like think it was a sequel to the original movie. So having like them form or having them morph into Zeo costumes I could see that confusing some audience members. So that's my guess.
We got a few minutes left before we've been on the air 3 hours, so let's try and fly through these, Stuart. Okay.
Sounds good.
Morgan Hutchinson, if you could pick 6 Lady Rangers to be on a team plus another 6 and they both battle each other, would you? Oh my God. So 6 Lady Rangers and then another 6 Lady Rangers to battle each other. Who would you choose and what would be your story? Oh God, we can't go through that fast.
I can tell you a story of what I would do if I had a full team of Lady Rangers, actually, because they did this in Japan, and I think this could actually be interesting to adapt into Power Rangers. They had a mini series where it was 3 Rangers all being mothers and trying to save the world, basically, together. It was like, I think it lasted 6 episodes, and it had like want to say it was like the pink Deca Ranger, the yellow Dino Fury. I don't know what the Sentai equivalent was, but yeah, and then one other. So it was 3 of them. So it was a very small, self-contained story. So instead of having it be a full 6 versus 6 storyline, I would just have it be like a mini series with 3 or 4 like Rangers trying to be mothers while also trying to save the world, because I think that'd be a fun storyline. You could also bring back some of the actors from the old Saban era, and I think that'd be really cool.
I kind of dig that idea, actually. I kind of dig that idea. Mothers as superheroes. I think that's probably a niche we haven't really explored in Power Rangers yet.
Yeah.
Right? I don't think we've had a mother that's been a Power Ranger. Oh, I don't think so. I would love to
No.
see that, though. Chris Crossman, now that season 9 is the final season of The Flash, if you got a chance to write season 9, is there a storyline that you would tackle, or how would you end the show?
I know that I would want to end the show with the Flash essentially realizing that there are bigger threats that go beyond Central City, and so him like wanting to make sure his team is, so basically his team kind of becomes the new Team Flash of Central City, while the Flash goes off to like mostly his full-time work then becomes working with the Justice League.
Oh, I'm sorry. I got confused. I got distracted with Attila's comment. Udana was a mother Power Ranger. Udana. Oh, from was it Mystic Force?
Was it? Let me double check. That's right. Yeah, of course, because she was the Red Ranger's mother.
Yeah,
I totally forgot about that.
Right. Yeah, I totally forgot about that too. Man, thank you so much, Attila, for correcting us on that. So yeah, we need more of that. We need more of that, because actually, did you like Udana in the series?
Yeah. But also like with Flash season 9, I would want it to feel like closure for the Arrowverse as a whole. I wouldn't want it to just be a closure for the Flash. I would want it to kind of have something that closes out the entire Arrowverse, because I feel like season 8 and 7 already fully closed out the Flash. Like, I don't think there's really any more you could do that they haven't already done with those 2 seasons, other than Iris finally having kids, pretty much.
And then we got 3 last questions here. Francois, in Ninja Steel Dimensions of Danger, the whole plot of the episode was to stop bootleg Lord Draken from taking over the world and kidnapping veteran Rangers. The whole Rangers being from different dimensions never made sense to me, because most of the Rangers that were kidnapped were from the main Power Ranger universe. Only Rangers who were from different dimensions were Koda and Gemma. I really think that was just bad and lazy writing from Saban's influence. So no, I don't consider Power Rangers having a multiverse. Still, I mean, well, they do. I mean, I know you don't consider Power Rangers having a multiverse, but they do. Still wish the 25th anniversary itself was much better. I hope we get much better cameos and writing from Cosmic Fury if we eventually get appearances by old Rangers. I think we will, Francois. I think the writing team has stepped up and hopefully proven themselves with Beast Morphers into Dino Fury, more creative freedom, and hopefully into Cosmic Fury. But I'm glad you pointed that out, Francois. Like the idea of they really weren't from different dimensions, with the exception of Koda and Gemma. And they were, and who else was there? Wes, right? I think it was Wes who was like the other cloaked figure.
Yeah.
But yeah, everybody else was within that main Power Ranger universe. But good point. And did you want to bring anything up in regards to that, Stuart?
Oh no, I love how you refer to him as a bootleg Lord Draken, because like literally it was so weird having that story going on the same time as the 20th anniversary comics, because it was literally the exact same story, just the comics were way better because they were fleshed out, whereas the other one was like a 22-minute episode.
Yeah, it was super weird to me. Jackson Peterson, I found a list of cool Power Ranger fan ideas. This one I really found interesting. Power Rangers Psychic Force, Guy Sentai Esper Buster. I don't know what that, I guess that's maybe based off of like what the Sentai would have name would be, maybe, of the team. Motif Supernatural Phenomenon. It says story: one night in a storage cell owned by the Front, the future reaching our near tomorrow corporation. An explosion goes off. In it, hundreds of test subjects are freed, human subjects. 5 teenagers who were in the same cell joined together to escape. They were rescued by a rival, Friendly Corporation. The company explains that they've been trying to expose the evils of Front for a while, and now wants teenagers to testify against them. However, they are unable to prove anything, so they ask instead to fight against the test subjects that are destroying the city and hope to expose Front's evil somehow. Later on, the son of Front's CEO begins fighting the Espers. Only it's revealed that his father was converted into a cyborg, and he joins the Busters. Interesting fan idea.
Yeah. Oh, wait. So this would have been an adaptation of like Go Busters?
I think it's just a fan idea because I mean they would title it Power Rangers Psychic Force, and it just says Guy Sentai Esper Buster. I don't know what that means unless that's the name of his Sentai team. Yeah. I don't know. I'm assuming that's what it is though.
Yeah.
Benji, and then last but not least, Benji says, what do you hope or want to see in Cosmic Furies? What Rangers you like to see return, especially with them being in space? Maybe the old Rangers are summoned to teleport into space, or Cosmic Fury team return to Earth. So yeah, what do you hope or want to see in the Cosmic Fury, and what Rangers would you like to see return?
I know this is the most obvious one, but I do hope we get the MMPR in some way, shape, or form, only because it's where we started, and I do love ending things where we start, and so having them just to have like at least one final send off, for the team would be nice. I don't think it's going to happen though, but it would be nice. Another team, of course, I would love is the In Space Rangers, because that was like, it'd be kind of cool going from what was the original finale to Power Rangers to like the new finale to Power Rangers too.
Yeah, for me, I wouldn't mind the original cast coming back, MMPR. I don't expect the full team, but David Yost, I think, is still on the docket to hopefully appear. I haven't heard anything outside of that. So I do think it's still on the table for David Yost to pop up. So for me, that would definitely be convenient and perfect enough for me, especially if he gets maybe a whole episode to himself and maybe help really explore things a little bit more, and a bigger overall lore for Power Rangers would be great. Like even if he references his past team members, maybe even a Trini reference would be pretty cool. I don't know how they're going to pull it off, but definitely give me Billy. And you're right. At this point, I would want any in-space themed Rangers to pop up, whether that be in space, whether that be Galaxy, whether that be SPD. Even if it's one from each season, I would be open to. But give me all the space theme Rangers I can handle, and I'll take that. All right. I think that's all the questions that we had today, guys. So thank you very much, everybody who certainly participated in dropping live viewer questions. Hopefully, I was able to get that post up relatively early for you guys in the week, so you guys can go ahead and submit that, and I'll certainly continue to try and do better next week also in dropping that live viewer question. So again, always check out our YouTube channel, click on that community tab, and usually sometime after Wednesday, the live viewer question section will be available. But I think that will do it for our live viewer questions today, guys. So thank you everybody for certainly joining us and participating in today's episode. Any last words, Stuart, before we wrap this up?
Yeah, I think we pretty much covered everything.
Yeah, I think we're good to go. But guys, listen, if you want to follow us on social media, you can definitely do so right up here at A Plus Opinions. Very active over on Facebook, as well as Instagram and Twitter. If you like audio versions of our show, we do have a Spotify channel. There is a link in the description box below. Usually after our videos air or are posted, we will go ahead and upload them to Spotify so you can get audio versions of all of our shows. We're also on Apple Podcasts as well, so definitely go ahead and check us out there. Even Anchor, you can certainly find us in podcast form. If you want to join our Discord, please join our Discord forum community up here somewhere. There is also a link in the description box below. We talk about a plethora of topics, not just Power Rangers, but tons of Marvel, DC, movies, television, television shows, it's certainly all there. Sports, definitely join us sometime if you want to go ahead and continue to further connect with us on our Discord forum community. But other than that, I think that's going to do it for us here. Stuart, if people want to reach out to you on social media, where can they find you, sir?
You guys can find me at TurboStew01 over on Twitter and on Instagram.
And Dino Knights Fights for Your Rights says almost at 1.1. Why does this keep dropping for me? 1.1K subscribers. Yeah, I think we've just broken 1,100 subscribers as of right now, and we're continuing to grow. So, guys, if you continue to love our content, do us a big favor. Not only hit that like button, but feel free to go ahead and share these videos around, guys. Bring more people into our world and continue to join our family as we continue to expand A+ Hero Report here. But thank you guys for all your time today. We'll certainly be back next weekend. So join us next Sunday live at 11 a.m. Central Time for another episode of A+ Hero Report, and we'll see you then. Until then, guys, do us a big favor. As always, take care of yourselves, take care of each other, and keep it A+. I'll talk to you guys later. Bye.